Well, temperatures are going to be around or a little bit below average for the time of year, but when you factor in those strong winds, the cloud and the rain, it's going to feel pretty unpleasant. And as we go into this evening, still some showery bursts of rain, particularly across the eastern parts of Scotland. Some of them could be heavy, could even be a bit of thunder mixed in. Drier and perhaps even clearer across many other parts of Scotland, albeit towards the west coast, a few showers here. Quite a showery theme through this evening across parts of Northern Ireland, and also showers piling into parts of Wales, southwest England. Still some strong blustery winds here, but it's still across far eastern areas where it's going to be wettest to end the day, and that's where we have those strongest winds as well. As we go overnight into Friday, now Storm Benjamin is clearing away into the North Sea, but exactly how quickly it clears away, that's still a bit uncertain. So I think we are going to see some rain fringing still into eastern parts of Scotland and showers coming into the west. Elsewhere, some dry, clear weather at times, and if you're sheltered from those strong winds, it could turn quite chilly through into tomorrow morning. And then through Friday itself, then watch out for some heavy rain across eastern parts of Scotland, as that could build up and lead to some impacts, and it could be a particularly wet and windy day here. Elsewhere, plenty of showers coming in from the west. Some of them could be heavy and they could be thundery at times too. Meanwhile, temperatures maybe up a degree or so compared to today, and a bit more sunshine on offer as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because There literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, when the King met the Pope. Yes, Pope Leo and King Charles share an intimate moment of interfaith prayer in the Sistine Chapel as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England prays alongside the head of the Catholic Church for the first time in history.
Meanwhile, one in, one out, shake it all about, one back in again. We examine the farce of a deported migrant immediately returning to Britain by small boat. This, as the total number of illegal migrants crossing this year surpasses the total for the whole of last year.
Well, the only respite the government gets is from the weather, and thankfully Storm Benjamin has blown in.
Far too many have been able to enter this country and disappear into the black economy.
Yes, it's a Home Office overhaul. A leaked report reveals a failing defeatist department riddled with immigration and management problems. Shabana Mahmood promises change.
Yes, and also pressure grows on safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips to resign over her handling of the grooming gang inquiry.
We have news. After 21 wonderfully joyful years on Strictly, we have decided that the time is right to step aside and pass over the baton.
And breaking this morning, Claudia Winkleman and Tess Daly have announced they're quitting Strictly Come Dancing, marking an end of an era for the show. We'll be speaking to a former Strictly professional later on in the programme. Well, it's a busy day of news. It's been a busy week of news, frankly. I was doing the show yesterday, and at about 1 o'clock we had 4 or 5 different stories just come in. I mean, the farce of this migrant who was sent out. I memean, we've only sent 42 migrants back to France out of the thousands who've come here since this one-in, one-out deal was established. 42 were sent back. And one of them immediately hopped on a small boat to return to the UK.
There's a surprise. I mean, who would have thought that would ever possibly be something that could happen? Only everybody. I mean, apart from the government, obviously, who didn't think that would be a thing. I mean, the French government have admitted that they don't treat migrants as well as we do, by the way. They say we've got a huge pool, huge draw over here. And so they don't treat them that well, and they jump back on a boat and come over here, and no one stops them. I mean, come on.
It's astonishing. You go to France, you actually see so much homelessness.
Yeah.
You see so many people, 99% of them migrants, just on the streets, in tents, lying in doorways. I mean, we've got our own homelessness problems in the United Kingdom, but nothing to the extent
I mean, joking
that you see
aside,
in France.
it is ridiculous. I mean, we have got, as you say, people living homeless here, people worry about paying their bills, and we have got the government literally, I want to use a phrase, but I can't use it because I'll get complained about, but absolutely just taking the mickey out of us all. And the other story, Tom, the other story that are taking the mickey out of is the grooming gangs.
Yeah.
I get so annoyed about this story. I have done from day one. And how many years on? 20 years on, I am still really annoyed about it. The inquiry, not inquiry, no one wants to be in charge of it. The girls are not having anything to do with it. Just so annoying. But we also have... Come on, have some light relief.
Oh, goodness me. I think we need a bit of light relief today, quite frankly, but the Strictly Come Dancing news, well, they're in the look of for two presenters, Dawn.
Yes, exactly. You've got a good rumba, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a very good rumba, yeah. But let us know what you're thinking about all the stories we're discussing today, certainly about Tom's rumba, which he may demonstrate, if you're lucky, later on.
Don't tempt me.
gbnews.com/yoursay. OK, but back to the main story. Let's talk about the migrant issue. And obviously we have our GB News Home and Security editor, Mark White, joining us now. Mark, another day, another migrant horror story.
Yeah, I mean, the bad news just keeps on coming for the government, as it did for the Conservatives before them. And the fact is, you know, when we drill down into everything, and of course there's great embarrassment about this one migrant who's been returned, who's come back again. The numbers are where they are. The fact is, this government just doesn't have a solution to the small boat crisis in any meaningful way. It's got lots of little incremental changes that they hope together in the round in a few years' time might bring the numbers down. But really, when it comes to any big set-piece policy, they don't have anything. And of course it was, when the government first started, smash the gangs. This is what we heard from Sir Keir and all of his ministers repeatedly, was smash the gangs. When they realised, actually, what most of us who've been monitoring this crisis for years knew, that there was always... law enforcement were always going after the criminal gangs, and that just saying they're going after them and smashing them is not actually going to really make any difference. Now that that's dawned on them, that we hear very little about smash the gangs. It's all about the international partnerships with the likes of France, of course. But even that is just a pathetically small number of migrants who are being returned to France, and it doesn't look, whatever the government says, like it's going to ramp up to anything very significant.
Well, it's a mess, isn't it? Because on the one hand, the government says no one should come across by small boat. This is not the right thing to do. You're breaking the law, you're jumping the queue, all of that. That's what they say. But then what happens when someone comes across by small boat? Welcome to the United Kingdom. Here's your hotel. Here's your discount spa entry and your discount e-bike and everything else that all these councils give these illegal migrants. I mean, at what point do we start to think that actually what matters here is not what the government says, but what the government does? That's the impression the migrants get.
Well, that's certainly one of the pull factors, absolutely, is what's on offer to them when they come over. I think one of the difficulties where we find ourselves in terms of both the way that migrants are treated when they come here and the apparent inability to return migrants to their home countries or a third country is actually because of issues around where we find ourselves as a developed nation with international norms and a class of people, be they in the civil service or in the court systems, wherever, not necessarily wanting to play along with what the government ministers of the day want to do, which is to get more robust with those migrants and return them to their countries, deny them the possibility of being able to claim asylum here and send them either, as I say, off to a third country or back to their own country. They're finding themselves coming up against roadblocks at every step.
But they're roadblocks that the government has legislated for, that successive governments have legislated for. I mean, the only things that's stopping the government from enacting its policy is other legislation that the government is enacting through different arms, whether that's conventions that we're signed up to that the judiciary then jump upon, or indeed gold-plated legislation about the sort of accommodation that illegal migrants can receive once they're in the United Kingdom.
Yes, that's right. They find themselves in this position because of many years of showing to the world just how enlightened we are as a nation, how civilised we are, how we want to ensure that those that might be facing very difficult times abroad can look to us for that kind of help. But the difficulty is people have looked to us and then some. It's moved on from what it was initially intended to be when this legislation, when the refugee convention was first set up after the end of the Second World War, to actually being just used by migrants who want to leave, yes, difficult circumstances back home and head to a country that is going to be more enlightened, that is going to look upon them sympathetically and take them in. It's difficult, having set up that over many, many decades, to extract ourselves from that without many within the system saying, look, how can we do that? Look at how we will be viewed now around the world. We'll be looked upon if we come out of the ECHR in the same way that people look upon Russia. This is what ministers are up against as they try to enact the policies they know that people right across the country want in place.
But the thing is, Mark, with the ECHR, there are many countries in Europe who have tackled their immigration problem who are still members of the ECHR. So it's not an insurmountable problem. It is solvable. They just don't appear to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that much to do with the ECHR. No. It's all about backbone. It's all about the willingness to tell Sir Humphrey that, you know, no, this is what I want to do, this is what the people have voted us in to do, and this is what we're going to do, despite the potential reputational damage in the short term to this country. There are many other countries, as you say, Dawn, that have decided, you know, be damned. Just get this done. Let's address this issue. Otherwise, we're going to face very, very serious issues. And indeed, of course, they are facing very, very serious issues of crime, economic impact, and, of course, a population that is becoming more and more uneasy and unrested.
And, of course, it's not just the international treaties, as you say. There's domestic legislation that we've piled on sort of year after year. The Human Rights Act is a sort of starting point there. But after that, it's amazing to see the number of acts and then almost judicial arbitrage at that legislation that piles on rights upon rights upon rights, with every new judicial decision to say that an illegal migrant should get some sort of right or another. I mean, the right to housing that people who come into this country illegally are entitled to seems to me to be greater than that of homeless people within this country, thanks to that legal arbitrage that we saw in the early 2000s.
And that's the issue. All of the legal safeguards that have been put in place, possibly for the best of reasons, many of these changes over the years have become so entangled that it's become perverse for people who genuinely are in need in this country, people who have served this country, veterans who find themselves homeless, who don't get the same kind of treatment as people who break into the country illegally, crossing the English Channel, immediately knowing that if they claim asylum, they enter a system that will wrap itself around them and ensure that they get every benefit and opportunity available to them, while those who've potentially worked all of their lives in the hope that they may get some recognition and that same wraparound care, if they should need it, from the state, go further down the list in terms of the priorities. And that's what people find so unfair. That's why people are so angry right across the country. That's why reform is surging in the polls. That's why Labour and the Conservatives before them are plummeting in terms of their popularity.
And Mark, I know we're going to discuss it further later on the show, but the report about the Home Office today, which has been trying to keep quiet for 2 years now, a catalogue of failings across the department, which is making the small boat situation worse. I mean, a list of things that including civil servants, of which there are many, many highly paid as well, including having listening circles in working hours rather than tackling this problem and making sure that they bring their whole self to work. Did you bring your whole self to work this morning?
The last time I checked.
It's a confused system, failure to properly brief ministers, detached from reality, i.e. not talking to people what's going on, working from home. 40% of them, 40% of time in the office out of the whole time they're meant to be working, only 40% is spent in the office. What are the Home Office doing? They're certainly not helping solve this problem.
Well, listen, I remember back in 2006, because I was still a Home Affairs correspondent back then, speaking to John Reid as he took over the Home Office and declared very publicly, to great shock around the country, that the very department he was going to lead, he was branding it not fit for purpose. And where are we 2 decades down the road, and they're finding the very same issues? Every successive Home Secretary that's wanted to go in and enact change has come up against this roadblock which is the civil service, the permanent employees of these government. And it's not just the Home Office, let's be honest. No. It's Downing Street, the Cabinet Office, pretty much every government department. They're full of people who work there permanently that often go out of their way to ensure that what a minister wants to achieve isn't achieved. And, you know, those of us that remember Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, all those years, 50 years ago this programme was about. And, you know, people, oh, God, this can't be like this. Sir Humphrey there, so, you know, talking around the minister in goggles.
That'd be a very brave decision, Minister.
Absolutely. Well, because, of course, they have ministers, some of them that have never been in a governmental office before. You know, they've never been in such a position they're in.
And
they rely on all of the advice.
In these departments, I mean, how many people work for the Home Office? How many thousands of people work for the Home Office? And there's one minister with maybe 3 or 4 special advisors, and they're up against, well, thousands of... I mean, it's a completely imbalanced political...
And that's one of the reasons, of course, why special advisors were brought in, just to give the minister some fighting chance against all of the civil service. But, of course, what it does is often causes friction, allegations against some former Home Secretaries of bullying and the like. It's not got any better, but someone's going to have to grip it. It would be really interesting to see if Nigel Farage is ever given the opportunity with the reform government. Could he handle it any better? Maybe, but, you know, it would be civil war, wouldn't it?
It would be, quite literally.
Civil service war.
Exactly, Mark, right, thank you very much indeed.
Good one.
That was terrible, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Well. Now, let's move on.
Let's go to... well, we should say that we're going to be live in Rome in the next few minutes to discuss that historic moment the King met the Pope in prayer. But before that, some shocking news.
Yes, Strictly host Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman are leaving the show after this series.
In a joint statement on Instagram, they said, "We are always going to leave together and now feels like the right time." Thanking the BBC and fans for what they called an absolute dream. Let's take a listen to what they said.
Hi, it's Claude and Tess. There have been some rumblings and we want you to hear this from us.
Yeah, we have news. After 21 wonderfully joyful years on Strictly, we have decided that the time is right to step aside and pass over the baton.
The very sparkly baton. You've been here since the beginning.
2004 with Brucey, lovely Bruce. I mean, that's over 2 decades ago, and a lot of that time has been with you. It's been a huge part of our lives, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, since our children were literally babes in arms, and now they're young adults. And I think genuinely we have cherished every second.
We have.
Oh, that was pretty shocking. That broke this morning, and everyone goes, "Oh my God!" I mean, they've been on the show for like forever. Well, Tess has been on it from day one. OK, let's get more with GB News entertainment editor Alex Davis. Alex, this is a bit of a shock, isn't it? No one saw this one coming.
No, it's like when Jerry left the Spice Girls. Everybody is completely blown away by this. Motsi Mabuse, one of the judges, she replied to one of the statements saying that she was still in shock. And actually, just as you've joined me, the BBC have finally released a statement about it from Kate Phillips, the Chief Content Officer for the BBC. She said, "I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but it is an end of an era with Tess and Claudia's decision to bid farewell to the Strictly Ballroom." So it does suggest that this was fully Tess and Claudia's decision to hang up their ballet shoes, shall we say. Kate Phillips went on to say they've been integral to Strictly's success over the last 20 years, but I understand why they've decided it's time to hang up the glitter ball and get their weekends back. Now, in terms of an exact reason as to why they're deciding to leave, we don't know. All they've said is they feel like it's the right time. It was a joint pact. They wanted to go together. There's been no allusion or alluding to the fact is anything to do with the scandals that have engulfed the show over the last few years. And they've both been full of praise for the entire team behind the scenes of Strictly. Claudia, after that joint statement that you played earlier, Claudia did a statement of her own, called her relationship with Tess the greatest relationship of her career. She described the show as a magical, glittery, fake-tanned train, and it's been a privilege to be a part of it. And what I think is probably the most significant part of her statement is, I've always believed it's best to leave a party before you're fully ready to go, and I know the new hosts will be magnificent. Now, we've had no word on who the new hosts may be, or whether it will continue. For me, I don't know whether this is sort of the final nail in the coffin for Strictly. But quite a few names have already been bandied about. My inbox today has been full of press releases from bookmakers suggesting who may take over. Names like Kevin Clifton and Stacey Dooley, they won the series in 2018 and have gone on to strike up a romance, have a child together. Stacey Dooley's a very popular BBC presenter. She may seem like a safe choice. Alex Jones and Gethin Jones, they've both got history with Strictly, both competed. Alex Jones obviously does the One Show, Gethin Jones does Morning Live, both very popular at the BBC. Other names like Rylan, again, another name who was taken part in Strictly previously. He's being tipped as a possible candidate for the role. GK Barry, who now does Love Island, she does not Love Island, sorry. I'm a Celebrity, she now does Loose Women. She's come up in conversation. And if you wanted to go down a similar route to what they've done previously and take from It Takes Two, you've got Fleur East and Jeanette Manrara there, and that would keep up the all-female partnership on the show. But as I say, no decision's been made. It's all very much up in the air. And I think from the sounds of it, everybody's been sort of taken aback by Claudia and Tess's decision.
I wonder if it's just a sign that we're past peak Strictly and Claudia's found great success elsewhere at the very least.
Well, she's doing very well on the Traitors, isn't she? Just finally and quickly, Alex, I mean, the ratings are sort of peaking and going down, aren't they? So maybe the writing is on the wall, if you could call it. What would you say?
Sorry, have I got you? Yes. The ratings have been floundering slightly, but it is worth noting that it's sort of part of our changing habits as an audience. It still performs exceptionally well when you look at the audience share. So this launch show, the last series just gone, was statistically the worst in numbers, the amount of people viewing it. But in terms of the amount of people watching TV as a whole at that time, Strictly dominated.
Right.
So whether it's just indicative of how we consume our media now, it may be one of those where people start to watch on catch-up rather than they watch on the live show. You know, it's no secret that streaming is taking over, but whether bosses will see that and decide to give Strictly another go with 2 new people at the front of it, I don't know. I don't know whether this would be a good time for them to say, do you know what, without Tess and Claudia, because they've both been there since day one. It's not just Tess. Claudia was part of It Takes Two at the beginning.
Right.
Did the results show and then moved over to the main show. They've both been there for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
They're pretty integral. So it's very up in the air.
Watch this space. Alex, thank you very much. That's GB News entertainment editor Alex Davis. Well, there's a gap there. Should we do that keep dancing thing?
Shall we? I mean, BBC, if you're listening... Oh, no, don't say that. Not on air. Jeez. No, we're very happy here at GB
We're
News,
very, very happy.
Yeah.
And everything's up here as well. The ratings are very good, aren't they?
They're very good.
The
radio figures, I mean, this show in particular, we're up over 100% on last year. So thank you, everyone listening and watching, not just on television, but on radio too.
Yes, so thank you so much for that. Really, 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 really appreciate it.
But indeed, time is ticking. Gosh, that Friday feeling, isn't it? Time is ticking on your chance to win the biggest prize of the... It is a Thursday, but a little secret.
Going terribly well so far.
I'm not actually here tomorrow, so this is my Friday.
Don't say that.
Okay.
I'll get upset.
Yeah, no, it's your Monday. You're doing all the weekend.
I've got no idea what's happening in any case.
Right, well, anyway, it's the Great British Giveaway. Here's all the details.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and very good luck to all those who enter. Lots more still to come.
Yeah, Home Office overhaul. A leaked report reveals a failing, defeatist department riddled with immigration and management problems. Shabana Mahmood promises a change. Good luck, love. We'll get all the latest on that one.
All of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
After Diana's tragic death, and he goes into a lot of the detail in Spare, Harry was traumatized, in denial even, and also there's no question he took to drugs and drink as a part of a panacea. He was able to find himself in the military, but there's absolutely no doubt that that unquestionably changed him.
Well, I mean, both boys did go through it. I mean, like you, I covered the funeral. I stood there and watched him walk behind their mother's coffin. I mean, it did affect both boys, didn't it? But it's Harry is the one that seemed to be searching and angry more than his older brother. And so, I mean, Meghan being a mother figure, it does kind of make sense.
Well, in that sense, it conceivably could. I mean, in the Mirror, he was talking about even fantasizing, I suggest, about Diana living in California as a sort of granny figure, which I have to say, it's very hard to anticipate what would have happened, but there's absolutely no doubt that that was the catalyst, and truly, truly tragic.
Yeah, of course it was. It was horrible, and it's a horrific thing to happen to two young boys like that. What do you think Meghan would make of this comment, that she is a mother figure to her husband?
Well, I think that she would appreciate the fact that of the two of them, she is very definitely the dominant figure. That is definitely what comes across, and that is the way most people interpret the way their relationship. And I mean, I think they're still in love. I think that the relationship on the whole is working very well. It's hard to be precise because the net is flooded with rumours, as you know, about everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past midday. Now, questions to which the answer is no. Is the Home Office fit for purpose? Well, the Home Secretary doesn't think so.
OK, Shabana Mahmood says her department has been set up to fail after a leaked report called it dysfunctional and detached.
Well, joining us now is the writer and commentator David Shipley. David, the Home Office seems to have been in a mess for the longest possible time. I mean, how many different Home Secretaries do we seem to roll through, each of their careers ended by one scandal or another?
Yeah, I think it's been in crisis probably for the last 20 years, and we've all known it's not fit for purpose. And sometimes I have friends who are civil servants, and they say to me I might be being a bit unfair when I talk about how bad the civil service is. Then you read this report, you just think it's exactly what you imagine it is. Nick Timothy in this report describes civil servants sitting around in listening circles, bringing their whole selves to work, and all this, really woke nonsense, while also not being able to answer who's responsible for things, not being able to answer basic questions about what's happening within their briefs. Most of them aren't coming to work, and even then when he asks for information about productivity, they refuse to give it to him. These big departments act like their own private fiefdoms, and they are making the country ungovernable.
The big problem with this, I mean, it's, as you say, it's a leaked report. It's actually not actually leaked. They've attempted to not release this for 2 years now, and it's only due to the illegal challenge by the Times newspaper that we are aware of this information. And obviously, this is not a Labour government issue. This was a Conservative government issue beforehand as well. And pretty much all the time I've been a journalist, like it's going back a very, very long time. The woke stuff about the listening circles and bringing your whole self to work, fair enough. But the real problem I have with this, David, is the fact that the report finds that in key areas, officials routinely brief ministers at the last minute on matters that were vitally important. So almost like they are so disorganised or keeping stuff back, we're not quite sure which it is, from ministers, that ministers then aren't given the opportunity to do their jobs properly.
Yeah, and I think that's not just something that happens in the Home Office. I know for a fact that within the Ministry of Justice, key information is often withheld until very late. And there is a culture, I think, in much of the civil service that they think they know best, and they either try to cover stuff up or they just don't bring ministers into the loop until it's far too late. And unsurprisingly, then, you get ministers' careers ending, really, because it's not their fault. It's the civil service that's to blame.
David, we've only got a minute left, and this is an enormous question, but I'm going to try it anyway. I mean, what on earth's the solution? What on earth is the solution to bring back political accountability to the Home Office?
Well, I think, it's wider than the Home Office. We have this across government. I think what we need to do is accept that an unpolitical civil service doesn't work anymore. We need to politicise civil service. So when a government comes in, it should appoint, as they do in the US, senior people to run government functions who are political appointees, who are there to deliver the government's will. We have this perma staff of civil servants, many of whom are incredibly unproductive. This report talks about people getting paid substantial salaries to run small teams, considering issues which are particularly important, aren't a ministerial priority, and probably won't make any difference anyway. There's a huge amount of waste, and we need, I think, political control. We need to take power away from these inefficient departments and put it back in ministers and ultimately in Parliament.
Yeah, abolish the Northcote Trevelyan system to get awfully technical. David Shipley, thanks indeed for joining us.
I've got no idea what you just said.
Northcote Trevelyan?
No idea.
It's the... it was
I didn't ask you to explain.
There were two people, late Victorian era, put forward a report saying this is how we should rebuild the civil service.
Time. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up in today's show.
Yes, but first, let's get those very latest news headlines with Sam.
Very good afternoon to you, 12:32. The top story, Strictly Shock News. Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman are now leaving the show after this series. In a joint post, they said, "We were always going to leave together, and now feels like the right time." They thanked the BBC and for fans for what they called an absolute dream. King Charles has made history as the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the Pope. He and Queen Camilla met Pope Leo in the Sistine Chapel nearly 500 years after England's split from Rome. 3 men have been arrested in London accused of helping Russia's intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44 to 48, were detained in raids across the capital under the National Security Act. Police say it's part of a crackdown on proxies working for foreign powers. 4 survivors of grooming gangs have called for Jess Phillips to resign as safeguarding minister, saying her departure would prove the government is serious about accountability. Maggie Oliver, who blew the whistle on the scandal, says she's lost confidence in her. France may be rowing back on its channel boat deal. Sources in Paris suggest the plans to intercept small boats are on hold or were never serious. The Home Office insists, though, it still expects France to act at the earliest opportunity. And in London, police drones will soon launch automatically to 999 calls in a new Met trial. They'll reach scenes in 2 minutes, streaming live video to help officers on the ground. Those are your midday headlines. I'll be back with a full roundup at 1.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 34 minutes past 12. Now, pressure is growing on the safeguarding minister Jess Phillips to resign over her handling of the grooming gang inquiry. We'll get the latest on that.
Yes, and we'll be live in Rome to discuss that historic moment as King Charles joined Pope Leo in prayer.
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin is still likely to bring some impacts across parts of the UK, wet and windy at times, and it is going to be feeling much cooler across the UK. Here's this area of low pressure named by Meteo France as Storm Benjamin, slowly pushing its way into the North Sea. It is still going to continue to bring some very brisk northerly winds at times, mainly across coasts of East Anglia, also eastern parts of England. A chance we could still continue to see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour. Even inland areas, it's going to be quite breezy. Eventually that rain will clear its way into the North Sea, allowing some brighter skies behind, but we are still going to continue to see some showers. Western parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, also parts of Wales and southwest England. Some of these showers could be heavy, possibly with some hail and thunder. Now, to finish off the day, there will be some clearer skies, particularly across inland Scotland, but notice across the east, plenty of clouds, still some showery outbreaks here, also some showers just pushing into western coasts. Plenty of showers across Northern Ireland, pushing their way into northwest England. Once again, these could be heavy at times, similar across Wales and southwest England. Plenty of cloud will remain across central and southeastern parts of England too, though it should be much drier compared to what we've seen earlier in the day. Now, Storm Benjamin will continue to swirl into the North Sea. We've also got another area of low pressure just to the north of Northern Ireland, still continuing to bring in some breezy weather and also some showers. But for the bulk of the country, it should be mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, continuing to feel quite breezy though. So it's going to feel chilly by the time we reach Friday morning, but likely frost-free. Now into tomorrow, a much drier, brighter day for all, but there are still going to be plenty of showers, still continuing to push their way in from the west. Some of these could still be quite heavy, and also some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across northeastern Scotland. And in that brisk northerly wind, it is going to continue to feel chilly, highs reaching around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M73 northbound at Junction 2A on-slip for Gartkosh is closed for essential roadworks. Drivers are advised to follow the signed diversion and anticipate longer journey times. On the M48, there is a weight restriction for vehicles over 7.5 tonnes in both directions until further notice. In Portsmouth, the M27 westbound between Junction 12 and Junction 11 is experiencing lane closures due to a road traffic collision, causing delays of about 10 minutes. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast is experiencing disruption on multiple routes, while Gatwick Express reports minor delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past 12. Dawn and I have been swatting up on the Northcote Trevelyan report.
It's really interesting, yes, and it's only a 3-hour show, Tom. Thank you very much.
Well, we were going to start a dramatic reading of it, weren't we?
Yes, so thank you so much for everyone getting in touch discussing that particular subject. And Christopher says, Dawn, you do get very excitable at times, and it has an impact on Tom.
A positive or negative one?
I don't go into details.
Just an
really,
impact.
To be honest with you, the impact is fine.
Yeah.
OK, we've told you to read on, now we've told off as well. God, it's one of those days. OK, so Keir Starmer says he still has full confidence in Jess Phillips and Baroness Louise Katie to head the new National Grooming Inquiry, even as some victims are still pulling out. Speaking during a visit to Peacehaven Mosque, he insisted the probe will go wherever it needs to go.
Well, it comes as 4 grooming gang survivors call for Jess Phillips to quit, suggesting her exit would mean the government was serious about accountability. So, could her position now be untenable?
OK, joining us now is former Labour advisor Stella Santakido. Stella, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of this? Should Jess Phillips go, or is she good to do the job?
No, this is up to the Prime Minister, and I think that it is a distraction from actually having an inquiry that is structured as we need it to be, and that looks into the issue that we really need to look at. If we keep on focusing on Jess Phillips, who at the end of the day, she's been in post for a little over a year now, and a lot of these issues are systemic issues, and it's the approach of the government for a very long time that we are criticizing, and why this inquiry is so important. I was very happy to see the statement by Sabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, which she released this week, relating to the grooming gangs inquiry, in which, in very, very strong terms, she made it clear that the cultural and religious background of the perpetrators and of the grooming gangs and the cultural elements of the grooming gang scandal is something that the government not only is not going to shy away from, but is going to focus on this time. Because this is really the main problem, and this is why the victims lost their trust in the system and the public service for such a long time, because they realized that whenever they were trying to talk about the cultural or the religious background or whatever it was that made these men behave in this way and led to the cover-up, it was being ignored because it was politically inconvenient.
And yet, one of the difficulties here, because the government keeps saying Jess Phillips has worked throughout her whole life for the safety of women and girls, for women and girls who've been abused, and that, of course, is true. I don't doubt Jess Phillips' credentials when it comes to her history and her past. But there's another element of her history in the ministerial position she sits in now, which is at the start of this year when I think it was Oldham wanted that inquiry, she said no. She was the face of the government saying no to a national inquiry too for month after month after month. Has that done some irreparable damage with some of these victims who've been calling for that inquiry? Does that make these two sides pretty hard to bridge?
Of course it does, and I understand why the victims are angry and why they are very sensitive about the details of the inquiry, and why they find it so difficult to listen to the words of the chair or the minister or whoever else when they need to see the concrete action and they've waited for so long. I completely understand that. I think that for Jess Phillips, I think for the government more generally, it was wrong not to accept the inquiry, the calls for the inquiry to begin with, but they understand why they did it. They didn't go into it For one, because the public finances are in the way that they are. And already we have findings from previous inquiries which have not been implemented. And part of the reason, again, is because of money, because a lot of them will include paying back victims. And we've seen how a lot of these public inquiries go. It does mean that the government has to find substantial amount of money in their budget to compensate these victims, which is 100% right. And I'm not justifying the government's decision. I think this is why we are in the situation we are right now. It was wrong. It was clearly the wrong decision to not give in to a national inquiry to begin with, exactly because of what I said earlier, because of the fact that it was so difficult for so many years to pinpoint to the cultural and the religious factors that led to this scandal.
But Stella, when it came to other inquiries in the past, you know, this country was broke in 2010, and yet we still pursued the Chilcot inquiry, we still pursued the infected blood inquiry, we still pursued the post office scandal inquiry. That, of course, is going on now. I mean, there are lots of things where the government has said, absolutely, let's quickly set up an inquiry and get to the bottom of this. But when it came to mostly white working-class girls being systematically raped by mostly Pakistani men, the government suddenly says, oh, there's not enough money to look into this.
It was in many ways as well that they did not see this as a problem of their own making in the same way. But I think that in terms of strategy, when you are looking at what Sabana Mahmood is trying to do in terms of Labour's approach to this issue, I think it was obviously not something that was helping the goals that Keir Starmer has told us are his goals for a Labour government. In his speech at the Labour Party conference, for example, a few weeks ago, which was to be honest about immigration, to be honest about cultural differences, and to be honest about what are their preferences and what are our values. And I really like that. But it was a strategic error for all of these regions. So these are the reasons why I think they said no to begin with. But I think that it was the wrong decision at the end of the day, and we see that so now. This is why people are angry.
Stella, finally, just very, very quickly, as one woman to another, don't you think that politics have been put before these girls since this scandal first broke?
Yes, I do, actually. I do think that that has been done for a very long time, and I think it was completely the wrong thing to do, and that is why I am very strict when an MP from whichever political party tries to dismiss or divert the opinion from this topic.
Stella, thank you very much. That is Labour advisor Stella Santaguido. Thank you very much for joining us there.
Now, some breaking news just into us. A former paratrooper known as Soldier F has been found not guilty at Belfast Crown Court of committing 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Londonderry in 1972.
We'll be live in Belfast in the next few minutes with our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie.
Well, that's just to repeat, a former paratrooper known as Soldier F has been found not guilty. That's not guilty at Belfast Crown Court. He was accused, of course, of committing 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Londonderry in 1972.
Yeah, it's a very big breaking story with widespread ramifications. We will be going live to Doogie Beattie for the full details on that one very soon.
But in the meantime, this is, of course, Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more still to come.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The weather's looking quite mixed across southern parts of Europe as we go through tomorrow. Yes, there will be some dry, sunny and rather warm weather, but also heavy rain in places too. A band of rain pushing across parts of Portugal and into central Spain. Meanwhile, across France, feeding into Italy and also further east, there's some heavy, thundery rain, and this could build up in terms of rainfall totals, enough to cause some impacts in a few places. Looking a bit drier and brighter as we head into next week, though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. The time is 46 minutes past 12 and still to come.
Yes, breaking this morning, Claudia Winkleman and Tess Daly have announced they've quit Strictly Come Dancing. We'll be speaking to a former Strictly professional next.
And, of course, more on that Bloody Sunday trial. Soldier F found not guilty. This is GB News Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Golly gosh, good afternoon, Britain. It is 10 to 1, amazing times flying. And moving on to some shocking news, exclamation mark. Strictly host Tess Daly and Claudia Winkelman are leaving the show after this series.
Yes, it's a joint statement on Instagram where they said, we were always going to leave together and now feels like the right time. Thinking of the BBC, or thanking the BBC and fans in what they called an absolute dream.
Joining us now is former Strictly Come Dancing professional and entrepreneur, AJ Pritchard. AJ, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Last saw you when you looked exactly the same as you did now a few years ago. But are you shocked by this news?
I think they're iconic, aren't they, Tess and Claude? But I think, like, people kind of worry, like, is this the magic of the show that's missing? But I think the magic of Strictly is the pros, the crew, the hair, the makeup, everything that it is. But I think my one worry is making sure that when you're going to, like, replace somebody like Tess and Claude, it needs to be somebody that is quirky, original. Like, let's take, like, French and Saunders. Like, you're thinking of yourselves now, aren't you? It's that thing, because they are so well-placed to bounce off each other. And I think that's what their role is. Like, they do it so perfectly. That is the scary part. How do you replace such an iconic double act, a duo?
And they've been at the core of the show for such a long time, starting off in different positions, but both there for 20-odd years. I mean, it's just an extraordinary... Does this sort of score or underline some of the troubles that the show has had in the last few years? A few scandals with participants, viewing numbers down a little bit. Have we passed peak Strictly?
I don't think so. I think the one thing with a show like Strictly is you're going to have different viewings over each year. You're going to see that kind of, maybe you could say it's slightly plateaued at the moment, but I do feel like with the right cast, the right celebrities coming in, the right pros, like, it is so addictive. And when you suddenly sit down to watch it for like half an hour, you're like, OK, I'm attached to this journey now. I want to see how this is going to progress. I think that's the secret to these shows, really casting that celebrities and the pros themselves to really make it like, oh, I'm attached to that person now. I'm invested. I have to. My dinner plans have changed now because I need to watch Strictly tonight.
True. AJ, you were in it in 2016, 17 and 18?
Yes,
Have we got a clip of you dancing, have we?
I probably still look the same again.
You do look exactly the same, which is...
That's a great clip. I remember this dance, with Claudia Fragopani, the Charleston, fantastic dance, loved it. I did fall over at this next point a little bit when she pushed me back, but we get back up.
That wasn't part of it?
That wasn't in the dress run, I can tell you that.
Well, I suppose the mark of a true professional is it looks exactly like it was all entirely planned and put through. So what was your experience like of the show? Because obviously there are so many different stories and scandals that make their way into the tabloids. I mean, did you get a sense that there was some tension behind the scenes, or was it all plain sailing?
I think, like, you as an individual come to the show, it is a fantastic show. From everybody that you don't see is what makes it so good. And Tess and Claude that you see on camera, like, our relationships, they want the best journey for the pros and the celebrities, and that's what makes it. And if you want to really kind of throw yourselves into, as you said, how many sequins can we throw on you today? Like, what if you're like, yeah, I want more, I want to do this, and you just say yes to all these opportunities, you get the best experience. Unfortunately, yes, in the past, some people haven't had the best experience. It's come down to slightly, maybe one or two of the pros in the backstory of the studios and working so long. But you have to remember, you're put under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I'm not saying this as kind of like defending anybody, but it's people don't always deal with pressure and stress and all these things in the best possible way. And I think you can sometimes see that from the people, how their nerves react and how they go in them sort of scenarios.
And we have had bullying allegations, inappropriate behaviour and even drugs claims going on behind the scenes. Was that something you ever experienced? The pressure, as you say, is intense, so anyone behaving badly, not intentionally, behind the scenes?
I think when it comes down to a show like Strictly, they have to be very clear, like, if something has gone wrong and it's evident and it's been documented, that needs to be dealt with, whether that be remove a professional, like they've had to in the past, or in the same cases, maybe speak to some celebrities and be like, oh, well, we can't have this happen, we need to move forward from that. And I think as long as it's clear and precise, then that's how it has to do. In life, we're always going to have people, we want the best people in every scenario, but unfortunately, you are going to have one or two bad apples in there.
Now, one of the joys of Strictly is that you do get, very often, a range of different abilities. That you do get people who have been performers their whole lives and who sort of snap into it really easily and readily, and you get other people who, it's amazing, frankly, they've moved at all in their entire lives.
This is true.
As a professional dancer on the show, which of the categories do you prefer to work with? Sort of helping someone up from sort of a standing start, or clicking in with someone who's clearly danced before?
My dance partners haven't exactly had the dance experience, but they've been willing to learn, and I've loved seeing that journey, and we've kind of got all the way to that final, but never actually just made that final. But then again, I think as a viewer, as somebody watching the show this year, you need people that can dance and people that can't dance. Because if everybody was the same, 0-0, maybe minus for some people, from day one, I wouldn't be tuning in to week 9 or 10 because I kind of would get bored. So I think it's important to have really good people, and maybe, I don't want to say really bad people, but you know what I mean. People that have got the journey to go. Progression, yes.
I mean, you were very supportive of Tom Skinner, this year's controversial dance contestant, because of what he said online, etc., and he would admit not the best dancer in the world, but you were very supportive.
Yeah, because he came out, he was a yes. He was, come on, like, I'm gonna take this top, I'm gonna throw sequins on me. I probably don't feel comfortable deep down if he was being honest with himself, but he gave it his everything. I think that's what you want to see on a show like Strictly. You can't deny it.
So, not over yet, more to come.
Not over yet, more to come.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, AJ. Always good to talk to you. That's former dance professional and entrepreneur AJ Pritchard.
Well, still lots more to come here on Good Afternoon Britain. We'll be live in Rome to get the very latest on the historic meeting between King Charles and Pope Leo, kneeling down in prayer. Don't move a muscle.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home. Thousands of whom are on the streets, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions. Bed sits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson. When the King met the Pope, Pope Leo and King Charles share an intimate moment of interfaith prayer in the Sistine Chapel as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England prays alongside the head of the Catholic Church for the first time in history.
One in, one out, one back in again. Yes, we examine the farce of a deported migrant immediately returning to Britain by small boat. This as the total number of illegal migrant crossings this year surpasses the total for the whole of last year.
And there's some concern about the French police tactic of pushing small boats back onto French beaches. The government here says they're still on course to deliver that, but there's no sign of it happening anytime soon.
Far too many have been able to enter this country and disappear into the black economy.
Home Office overhaul. A leaked report reveals a failing, defeatist department riddled with immigration and management problems. Shabana Mahmood promises change.
Elsewhere, pressure grows on safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips to resign over her handling of the grooming gang inquiry.
We have news. After 21 wonderfully joyful years on Strictly, we have decided that the time is right to step aside and pass over the baton.
And breaking this morning, and an emotional social media post, Claudia Winkleman and Tess Daly have announced they've quit Strictly Come Dancing, marking an end of an era for the show. We'll be getting a reaction to that throughout the show for you.
And how far would you go to make your child a gentleman in the future? Well, a family is seeking a tutor to help their 1-year-old son become an English gentleman, destined for Eton or Harrow. But are there some things you just can't teach your kids?
So good afternoon to you all. Thank you so much for your company. And remember, this show is all about you. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved. And I thought, Tom Harwood, that was the perfect job for you.
Which was?
Tutoring the baby to make it ready for Eton.
Well, the amount that they were going to pay this
I know,
tutor,
that's what I mean. Loads of money.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe.
How much was it again?
I think it was £180,000.
I think it was. That was quite a bit of money. And it's literally a 1-year-old baby that can't even talk.
I mean, how much tutoring can you give a 1-year-old baby?
And you could teach it to talk quite posh. I mean, I'd obviously have no chance of getting this job whatsoever.
Are you casting aspersions towards my accent?
No, you've got a terribly nice accent.
Were you trying?
I think you talk lovely.
I think you talk right good too, Don.
Oh, dear Lord. No matter how you talk out there, please do get involved in the conversation. There's something we'd love to hear, and we will read as many out as we possibly can. So gbnews.com/your say.
Someone else who I just want to hear the dulcet tones of is, of course, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, who's sitting there quietly with his lilting Scottish accent.
Lilt for us, Mark.
Well, to be honest, I've knocked the edges off it, I think, because I'm from the borders in Scotland. Although it's not like Glaswegian, you know, like really broad, it does, you know, it can be quite impenetrable at times. But 25 years or more in London, had to knock the edges off a little.
Yeah, you sound English in Scotland and Scottish in England.
Yes, indeed. I sound better with a few drinks.
I think we all do.
Who doesn't love, to be honest with you? Well, apart from the person who's about to read the news terribly well, that'd be Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. At just after 1 o'clock, the top story this lunchtime. King Charles has made history, becoming the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the Pope. The King and Queen met Pope Leo for the first time at the Vatican before joining him for a service in the Sistine Chapel, nearly 500 years after England split from Rome. The palace says it hopes the focus will remain on what they say is a powerful moment of unity between the two churches, amid continued scrutiny over the scandal surrounding Prince Andrew. 3 men have been arrested in London, accused of helping Russia's intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44 to 48, were detained in raids across the capital under the National Security Act. Police say it's part of a crackdown on proxies working for foreign powers. Breaking this lunchtime, a former British paratrooper known only as Soldier F has been found not guilty of 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Londonderry. Judge Patrick Lynch ruled the evidence fell well short of what was needed to convict. 13 people were killed when soldiers opened fire on a civil rights march in 1972, one of the darkest days of the Troubles. Well, it is an end of an era for Strictly Come Dancing. Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman have both announced they are stepping down as hosts after this series. In a joint Instagram post, the pair said, "We were always going to leave together, and that now feels like the right time." They thanked the BBC and the Strictly team, calling it an absolute dream, adding they'll still be saying keep dancing, just at home in tracksuit bottoms with pizza. 4 survivors who quit the government's grooming gangs inquiry have written to the Home Secretary calling for Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips to resign. In a joint letter, they say her departure would show the government is serious about accountability. But sources say Shabana Mahmood is standing by her minister. That's despite campaigner and former police whistleblower Maggie Oliver saying she has lost confidence in Jess Phillips. The government says a migrant who re-entered the UK after being deported to France will be sent back again and again if he keeps returning. Ministers insist the case proves the UK-France one-in, one-out deal is working, saying the man paid smugglers twice to cross the Channel and will now be deported twice. It comes as small boat arrivals this year surpass last year's entire total, with more than 36,950 migrants crossing the Channel so far this year. The Home Secretary says the figures are shameful and that the government must go further and faster to restore control of Britain's borders. The Home Secretary has also admitted the Home Office is, she says, not fit for purpose after a damning internal review described it as dysfunctional and riddled with defeatism. Shabana Mahmood says the department was set up to fail under the previous government, but insists reforms are now underway to rebuild it so it delivers for the country. The report, written for Suella Braverman by former advisor Nick Timothy, found major failings in tackling immigration, tackling crime and small boat crossings, blaming outdated systems and a culture of resistance to border control. Mahmood says she is now working with the new permanent secretary to transform the Home Office from failure to function. Weather warnings are now in force as Storm Benjamin lashes parts of the UK with heavy rain and gale-force winds. The Met Office has issued 4 yellow alerts for today, warning of flooding, power cuts and travel disruption as the storm sweeps from the English Channel right to the North Sea. Forecasters say there's still uncertainty over the storm's exact track and they're urging people to stay up to date with the latest warnings. And a London family is offering an extraordinary £180,000 salary to tutor their 1-year-old son. The goal, well, to prepare him for entry into an elite school like Eton. The advert calls for a modern-day Mary Poppins, someone nurturing, cultured and able to fill his days with art, theatre, sport and museum trips. Applicants must also have experience working with ultra-high net worth individuals or royal families. Those are the lunchtime headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, let's take a look at the markets.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here are the 1 o'clock markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3337 and €1.1509. The price of gold is £3,085, 38 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,575 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Let's start with some breaking news. A former paratrooper known as Soldier F has been found not guilty at Belfast Crown Court of committing 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Londonderry, 1972.
Joining us now is GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, good to see you. Doogie, bring us up to date on the story.
Well, this was about Bloody Sunday 1972, and the paratrooper was alleged to have opened fire on the crowds that were gathering in Londonderry for what they called a civil rights march. And of course, there was many killed on that day. But the British Army were under military law and being tried now in a civil court 52 years on. And this has been going on in Northern Ireland for such a long time. And there is no way that you can bring people back for a trial 52 years on using civil law. It has cost Northern Ireland's economy billions of pounds, and this case is only one of many that this has happened, that veterans are having to defend themselves. And joining me now is Paul Young of the Veterans, represents the veterans in Northern Ireland and much further afield. Paul, how does this feel today?
It feels great. It's something that we didn't think was going to happen, to be honest. We had no trust in the Northern Ireland judicial system when I think about Dennis Hutchins and others. But today we're happy. And we're happy for Soldier F, his family and his wider circle. It'll be a huge relief to them that this maybe at long last has ended.
But where does this leave? Will they still be appealing these cases? Will they still see British soldiers coming to court?
Well, I suspect they will. I don't think that the families of will actually let this drop. It's become a fanatical mission with them, I think, and most of the veterans would see it that as well.
Well, of course, today, hearsay was allowed into this court as new evidence. Will that have any effect on the letters of comfort that were given to the IRA, the amnesties that were given to them?
Well, the letters of comfort were an absolute disgrace. As a matter of fact, recently I spoke to the Secretary of State, a couple of weeks ago, and asked him why they don't rescind the letters of comfort, and he wouldn't give us an answer. So if they're not worth anything, why on earth don't they rescind them? They clearly are worth something.
But the Secretary of State said in the House of Commons the other day that any new evidence that would appear could then let those cases into court. If hearsay is being used as those evidence, as new evidence, is it not applicable here?
Well, yes, absolutely. But we say it's all wrong. We actually think that his new legislation is totally wrong and is not supported by any veterans, whether it's here or on the mainland. The only people that are liking this are Sinn Féin IRA and those that support the Republican cause, because the only people that are going to end up back in the dock again are elderly veterans yet again.
Final question to you. I mean, Keir Starmer has said that the veterans will be protected over this. Do you not think so?
Well, he's a known liar, so no, I don't think this protects anybody at all.
Thank you, Paul. So now the political fallout from this will begin, and we will see more cases being prepared to come to court for those veterans that served here in the times of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, unless those veterans can be protected by the chain of command and military law. This case today has proven that that does take effect, but it doesn't stop people trying to take cases against them. Northern Ireland really needs some sort of legacy that actually addresses all the questions here. And I think at this point, people need to look at their own politicians, Tom, to say, those letters of comfort are standing in the way. Those politicians need to look at trying to have them brought away.
Doogie, thank you very much there. That's Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie on a story that will have a wide-reaching effect on many, many people, and lots of you getting in touch about that story as well. So Dick Dastardly says fantastic news for Soldier F. I think all soldiers, veteran soldiers, should sue this woeful government.
Really interesting statement from the government, though. A government spokesperson has issued this statement in response, saying, "We note today's judgment. The MOD has provided legal and welfare support throughout, as it does for any veteran involved in a legal process arising from their duties. This case was part of the complex legacy of the Troubles, which affected so many families and communities. We're committed to finding a way forward that acknowledges the past while supporting those who served their country during an incredibly difficult period in Northern Ireland's history."
Katie gets in touch as well, saying this soldier should never have been brought before a court. It stinks expecting our forces to fight for their lives and then to let them be prosecuted. Do keep your messages coming in. gbnews.com/your say.
Really interesting that the government starts with not we support or we disagree, just neutral. We note today's judgment.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
Speaks volumes.
Well, we'll have more on that, of course, throughout the programme. But in the meantime, the government's Smash the Gangs policy faces another blow. As GB News can exclusively reveal, the small boat arrivals have already surpassed last year's total.
You knew it was coming, didn't you? A whopping 36,886 migrants have crossed the Channel illegally since January. That's 70 more than last year.
And what are we? It's only October. Still months and months to go. Could this be the highest year ever? I mean, quite possibly.
The only thing that's going to stop it is the weather.
Well, it comes as a Channel migrant who was deported in the famous one-in, one-out, shake-it-all-about scheme returns back to the UK via, you guessed it, another small boat.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now. Mark, you couldn't make this up. I mean, if you were writing a farce about the migration situation in this country, you would write this story. But it's not a farce, it's our real lives.
Well, indeed, especially as Tom really linked that to one in, one out, shake it all about. That's the hokey cokey, isn't it? And this migrant has been dubbed in the press the hokey cokey migrant because he's been in, he's been out, he's been in, he's been, you know, He's back out, he's in again, yeah. I lose track. I think he's been across the channel more times than across Channel Ferry. But anyway, in terms of this man, he's an Iranian national. We believe he's still here. We're trying to get confirmation of that fact. But you've already got human rights lawyers and activists wrapping themselves around this gentleman, saying that he is a victim of modern slavery. So you can bet your boots that that's going to be challenged. Now, how much credence any court will give to that challenge, given that he's already been deemed fit for deportation and been sent back to France, I don't know. It depends if they have any more new evidence. But that would be truly farcical if actually someone who the authorities said could be sent to France is then finding his way back here again, and we can't remove him next time round because he is using that Modern Slavery Act, as so many have done over recent years, to ensure that they get to stay in the UK.
Which was brought in by Theresa May, with good intention, to be fair, to stop proper modern slavery. But now any human rights lawyer worth their salt would just go, just claim that and you'll be fine. You'll be held up in the courts for years and years and years.
Well, there's no doubt. You know, it's become a very sort of expert industry around the migrants now, and they're there, they say, to represent these migrants as best they can. So they will look to whatever legislation or potential loophole there is to ensure the best possible outcome for these migrants. So, yes, modern slavery is one of the avenues that they look at.
OK, well, Mark White, thanks indeed for bringing us all of that. And that news, of course, just to reiterate, more have now crossed the English Channel just up to now in this year than did in the entirety of last year.
But 150 more already.
Thanks, Mark.
Always on top of the numbers. Well, I suppose the question is, what on earth's going on with the one-in, one-out scheme? Only 42 people have been removed under it, despite thousands coming across the channel since it was announced.
We're now joined by former Labour Home Affairs advisor Danny Shaw. Danny, this is an absolute farce, isn't it? I mean, the Okey-Cokey migrant, and he's the only one we know about at the moment. I'm sure there's going to be more.
Good story and good headline and nice sort of visuals there from Mark. But this was a scheme that is an experiment. It's a pilot scheme, and it was inevitable. I always thought it was inevitable that someone would be returned to France and would be so desperate to get back to the UK that they would make their way back. But the difference is that, firstly, the authorities have got their biometrics, they've got their fingerprints, the DNA, they know exactly who it is who comes across, and they've got records to show that they've been in the UK before and they've been deported. So I expect this individual will be removed again. He may try a legal challenge. I'm not sure how much credence the courts will give that. But this was bound to happen because people are really desperate. But what you have got for the first time, and we haven't had this since we left the European Union, we have got a returns deal with another European country, and that country being France. So we can actually return people to France. Now, the numbers are very small at the moment. Absolutely acknowledge that. The numbers are too small to be a deterrent. But if this scheme carries on and the numbers ramp up, it could get to a stage where it will give pause for thought for some people who want to make that trip if they realise that once they come, they'll be removed and it'll be a waste of the money they've spent.
Danny, I'm not great at maths, but it's hardly a deterrent. 42 channel migrants.
No, it's not a deterrent at the moment, Dawn. I said that. It's not a deterrent at the moment. I did say that.
And what's going to change then? What's going to make it more of a deterrent if we keep it like it is?
And I've said this all along. It'll only be a deterrent if the numbers ramp up significantly, you know, into the hundreds. And then it could be a deterrent. And I've been absolutely consistent about this. You know, there are a lot of steps that the government has taken to try and, you know, disrupt the gangs, to, you know, limit the number of people coming across. And they're all good steps and good measures, and I agree with all of them. But the one single thing that will work is to have people on a ferry back to France or on a flight back to France within 48 hours of them arriving in UK shores.
Danny, it needs to ramp up more than the hundreds, doesn't it? It needs to ramp up to the thousands. We've had 11,000 migrants reaching the UK since this scheme begun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about hundreds per week, Dawn, I think. I mean, it's the numbers are too small at the moment, but this is a kind of proof of concept thing. They're learning as they go along. The first thing that everyone was saying a few weeks ago, oh, you won't get anyone to go back to France because the courts will stop it. Well, that's been proved to be wrong. They have got people back to France, and the courts have generally kind of waved away those protests. You know, what they've got to do now is to see whether they can, you know, ramp up the numbers even more. That is the key challenge. But I think it's the right approach, and I do think that people should just pause and give a bit of time. The Conservatives in government had 5 to 6 years to try and deal with the small boats problem when it first started emerging in 2018, 2019. They failed to do it. I would say give this government a bit more time before you pass judgment. I say that as an objective observer. I know I worked for Labour before the election, but I honestly think people should just have a little bit of patience, give this government a bit more time. The results are not good at the moment, but some of these measures do take time to introduce and to implement and to bed in. And there's legislation going through that will give counter-terrorism powers. The Border Security Command, you know, was only set up a matter of months ago.
OK, well, I suppose we will watch this space, but currently it's the French that are not accepting more than 42 back. That's the sticking point. Will they ever get to a point where they're going to say thousands of people can return to France? I'm afraid we have run to the end of the segment, but Danny Shaw, we will have you back very soon indeed, I'm sure. Former Home Affairs Advisor Danny Shaw there.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, let us know what you think on that one. I can hazard a guess, but gbnews.com/your say. Now, time is ticking on your chance to win the biggest prize of the year in our current Great British giveaway. Just under 2 weeks left to go, is there, I think? Any case, it's your chance to drive away with a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain. Well, lots more still to come on today's programme.
Yeah, the Prime Minister says he still has the full confidence in Jess Phillips and Baroness Louise Casey to head the new national grooming inquiry, even as some victims pull out. We'll get the latest on that story next.
And we'll be live in Rome to discuss the historic moment as the King and the Pope kneeled down in prayer together.
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Steve.
Good afternoon, Britain. The less that we say about what was happening in the ad break, the better.
I might tell you later on.
It's 28 minutes past 1.
Yeah, and meanwhile, so Keir Starmer says he still has full confidence in Jess Phillips and Baroness Louise Casey to head the new National Grooming Inquiry, even as some victims pull out. Speaking during a visit to Peacehaven Mosque, he insisted the probe will go wherever it needs to go.
Well, it comes as 4 grooming gang survivors call for Jess Phillips to quit, saying her exit would mean the government was serious about accountability. But could her position now be untenable?
We are now going to speak to GB News political editor Christopher Hope to bring us up to date on this story. Christopher, how safe is Jess Phillips looking on this one?
Well, safe-ish, I would say, Dawn and Tom. As things stand, the PM tells us that he has full confidence in Jess Phillips. We're told by Number 10 moments ago that Jess Phillips has spent her career fighting for victims and survivors and trying to protect them from abuse, working closely with them and determined to get them justice. However, I would say that there's some history here. Back in January this year, the PM spokesman had full confidence in Tulip Siddiq over her affair, her issues there with Bangladesh, and she, of course, was the anti-corruption minister. 10 days later, she had resigned after inquiry by Laurie Magnus, who's the ethics advisor. She felt that she was becoming a distraction. So full confidence doesn't mean that much, but for now it means she's safe, despite the fact that 4 individuals, 4 victims who are advising the setting up of this inquiry into the grooming gang scandal have said she must go. So as things stand, she's safe, but that could vary from day to day. We'll see how that plays out.
That her job has been diluted somewhat, with the Prime Minister yesterday announcing that Dame Louise Casey was going to take on some of her job. I mean, is that a slight admission from the government that perhaps there's a bit of an albatross around the neck of this inquiry?
Well, yes, because the only thing that matters in the inquiry is, frankly, doing right by the victims. And if some of those victims don't have faith in the safeguarding minister, that means her role is under threat. Now, in the briefing we had with the PM spokesman read out repeated lines saying how Baroness Casey, formerly Louise Casey, Baroness Casey, now called, had stepped in to help support Jess Phillips. It sounded like they were moving away from backing her, but they were very clear. Number 10 are supporting Jess Phillips. I think her background means she can work on this. But with Louise Casey. Louise Casey, of course, is busy already. She has established and set up this independent inquiry into social care. It's had 2 meetings so far, trying to build a cross-party consensus. She appears to be the go-to person for the government if it gets into a sticky mess. And also she's tipped, although denied so far, to replace Chris Wormold, who is the government's cabinet secretary as early as January. So Louise Casey is almost the person who the PM goes to when trying to find out chart a way forward. Of course, she led the review, didn't she, into the scale of the grooming gangs crisis and the grooming gangs scandal that we had done so much to expose at GB News.
And Christopher, she does seem to be the one that actually gets to the bottom of things. It's very worrying. Jim Gamble, who became the second senior figure to withdraw from chairing the inquiry, his comment struck me. He says, I cannot understand why the setting up of the inquiry became instead a trigger for political point scoring. Now, when we're talking about the rape and abuse of girls as young as 10, I find that comment incredibly damning on everyone involved.
Yes, it's completely unedifying, and sitting above the MPs yesterday rowing about this, pointing fingers at each other, I just thought for these poor victims, what on earth is going on? These victims have been failed for 30 years by the police, by social workers, by councils, by MPs, by government, and all we are is MPs shouting at each other, saying it's your fault, no, it's your fault. It was disgraceful, I think. And I think that is understood by the Prime Minister. He was, of course, the DPP before he became Prime Minister, before he became an MP. He did initiate the first prosecutions over the grooming gang scandal, although that was many years after some of those crimes were committed. He does say he gets it. He does put himself on the side of victims. I think that unless you get their complete support, there's a problem here.
Indeed. Christopher Hope, thank you very much for bringing us up to date on the ongoing hideous saga of the grooming gangs. I'm sorry, I'm just so annoyed about this story, Tom. I really do. I just feel those girls are being kicked from pillar to post and they're still being treated like they don't count. And that's why so many of them are pulling out, because people aren't listening. Yeah. They're still not listening. Oh, any case. Let us know what you think about that one as well. gbnews.com/your say. This is indeed Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show. But first, sorry, we've waffled on for too long. It is a time for the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. The top story just after 1:30. King Charles has made history as the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the Pope. He and Queen Camilla met Pope Leo in the Sistine Chapel nearly 500 years after England's split from Rome. 3 men have been arrested in London accused of helping Russia's intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44 to 48, were detained in raids across the capital under the National Security Act. Police say it's part of a crackdown on proxies working for foreign powers. 4 survivors of grooming gangs have called for Jess Phillips to resign as safeguarding minister, saying her departure would prove the government is serious about accountability. Maggie Oliver, who blew the whistle on the scandal, says she's lost confidence in her. France may be rowing back on its channel boat deal. Sources in Paris suggest that plans to intercept small boats are on hold or were never serious. The Home Office, though, insists it still expects France to act at the earliest opportunity. In London, police drones will soon launch automatically to 999 calls in a new Met trial. They'll reach scenes in 2 minutes, streaming live video to help officers on the ground. And Strictly Shock News, Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman will leave the show after this series. In a joint post, they said, "We were always going to leave together, and now feels like the right time." They thanked the BBC and fans for what they called an absolute dream. Those are the lunchtime headlines. I'll be back with a full roundup at 2.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you very much, Sam. And there's loads more coming up on today's show, including my favourite story of the day. Manners maketh the man. How far would you go to make your child a gentleman or a lady in the future? Well, one family is seeking a tutor for an eye-watering money to help their son become an English gentleman destined for Eton or Harrow.
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin is still likely to bring some impacts across parts of the UK, wet and windy at times, and it is going to be feeling much cooler across the UK. Here's this area of low pressure named by Meteo France as Storm Benjamin, slowly pushing its way into the North Sea. It is still going to continue to bring some very brisk northerly winds at times, mainly across coasts of East Anglia, also eastern parts of England. A chance we could still continue to see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour. Even inland areas, it's going to be quite breezy. Eventually that rain will clear its way into the North Sea, allowing some brighter skies behind, but we are still going to continue to see some showers. Western parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, also parts of Wales and southwest England. Some of these showers could be heavy, possibly with some hail and thunder. Now, to finish off the day, there will be some clearer skies, particularly across inland Scotland, but notice across the east, plenty of clouds, still some showery outbreaks here, also some showers just pushing into western coasts. Plenty of showers across Northern Ireland, pushing their way into northwest England. Once again, these could be heavy at times, similar across Wales and southwest England. Plenty of cloud will remain across central and southeastern parts of England too, though it should be much drier compared to what we've seen earlier in the day. Now, Storm Benjamin will continue to swirl into the North Sea. We've also got another area of low pressure just to the north of Northern Ireland, still continuing to bring in some breezy weather and also some showers. But for the bulk of the country, it should be mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, continuing to feel quite breezy though. So it's going to feel chilly by the time we reach Friday morning, but likely frost-free. Now into tomorrow, a much drier, brighter day for all, but there are still going to be plenty of showers, still continuing to push their way in from the west. Some of these could still be quite heavy, and also some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across northeastern Scotland. And in that brisk northerly wind, it is going to continue to feel chilly, highs reaching around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M7-3 northbound at Junction 2A on-slip for Gartkosh is closed due to essential roadworks. Drivers should expect longer journey times. The M48 has a 7.5-tonne weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles. The A1M southbound between Junction 44 and 42 has a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle. Stay alert using this route. In Nottinghamshire, the A52 eastbound is shut between the A6011 and A46 due to a collision causing disruption. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast users face delays between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. 38 minutes past 1 is the time, and this is one of the most peculiar stories of the day.
Yes, a wealthy London family are offering an eye-watering amount of money, and it is as well, a year for a private tutor to help their son grow into the perfect English gentleman.
Yes, from polo to posh manners, they're hoping Eton or Harrow will one day come calling.
Joining us now to discuss this is columnist Ryan Mark Parson, who does talk terribly well, to be fair. Ryan, good to sit up straight, Ryan, for God's sake.
Sorry.
Ryan,
I'm already doing it wrong.
Come on. You're a gentleman. OK. Now, tell us more about this story. It's a lot of money to teach a one-year-old to be posh.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an extortionate amount of money to spend on a one-year-old. But I actually agree with the principle of teaching children at a young age. I think one is probably a little bit too young. But to teach children etiquette, manners, I'm 25. There are far too many people my age that don't know how to behave, don't know how to talk, don't know how to conduct themselves in polite society. And I think if we're going to promote this and get children learning from maybe the age of 1 or 2, whatever it is. I remember when I was 14, 15, my parents sent me to etiquette lessons, and I think it's actually benefited me quite a lot. And I still remember the lessons to this day. And it's doing me okay. It's not doing me too badly. So I'm all for
Ryan,
this.
though. I mean, I suppose on this point, I was taught from the age of very young to, you know, enunciate my T's, to pronounce a TH like rather than to use my fork as a sort of stabbing device rather than a shovel. I mean, all of these things my parents taught me. I wasn't sent off to some sort of tutor or extortionately expensive etiquette service.
Yeah, of course. I think there are some basic things that your parents can teach you. I mean, ideally, they need to possess this knowledge, and if they can share that with you and they can give you some lessons at home, perfect. But I think there are so many things, for example, the etiquette class that I went to, that you can't... My parents, for example, didn't know. For example, how you went to a room, how to exit a room, how to start a conversation when you're networking, how to, you know, it's loo, not lavatory. I mean, I guess some of those things you can learn at home, but I think it was the level of expertise and on very niche subjects. I think you can't really learn in the family environment, so that's why I would recommend it. And I'm all for this. If a 1-year-old is going to receive, I think it was £180,000, that's what they're offering. If they can get someone who's world class and can teach this baby how to be a gentleman, I think that's great. And like I said, I think it's a little too young, but I agree with the principle of teaching children general etiquette, manners, and how to behave in society.
How important is it in life that you do have extremely good manners and you have good etiquette?
I think it's exceedingly beneficial. I have found a lot with my friends. Perhaps they haven't got the best university degrees. They haven't, you know, they've been to a private school, but, you know, a lot of, quite a few of my friends actually did terribly in A-levels and didn't go to university or went to a very bad university. But actually the way they conduct themselves professionally, socially, they've actually been able to nepotistically move through high professional networks just by talking the right way, the way they sound, the way they conduct themselves to certain people within the business world has allowed them to progress without actually possessing the qualifications that their peers might have, and are actually doing better and earning more money. So I think people really underestimate
we celebrate that, though? The sort of anti-meritocratic system that rewards people more for their accent than their intellect.
Well, I agree, but I don't think it should be celebrated. I don't think it's something that we should necessarily be proud of, but I think it's just facing reality. And unfortunately, I think Britain particularly, I find, is very much based on, I find in London, more than anywhere else, the way you speak, received pronunciation takes you so far. I have found through my own experiences and with my friends, and just being able to go into a room, offer some charisma, know what to say, know what to do, display some level of etiquette, I find has helped these people in ways that qualifications haven't. And do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but I think it's just if you choose to ignore that, then you're just running away from the reality of this country, which I think a lot of people, you know, aren't aware of, and they need to smarten up.
Master Parsons, I have to ask you this question. Did you end up going to a terribly posh school after your etiquette lessons?
Well, no, I was currently at a secondary school when I took the lessons, but it wasn't Eton, it wasn't Harrow. I actually went to a very little, small, cheap private school in London, so it wasn't any of those.
And do you judge people on how they talk? She asked for a friend.
No, I mean, I love you. We've met a few times.
Thanks. I think.
But no, I personally don't, but I do know people that do, which I think is a shame, but that's just the way of the world. I just think that's the way this country is. It's a very snobby country, and there's no ignoring that. There are people that will just judge you based on how you speak and how you come across.
I wonder if we've moved past that. I mean, 20 or 30 years ago, any figure in authority would sound exactly like you do and like I do. Anyone on the television would sound like you do and like I do. But now, I mean, I think people
now
would
people like me get jobs.
Well, I think it's a blooming good thing too that you don't have an absolute monotony of accent or dialect across the airwaves, across the sort of authority figures. It was actually quite... Did you see was it the chief of the Manchester Police when he was giving his statement after the horrific terror attack in Manchester? And I was slightly taken aback because he spoke with such a sort of old-world, clipped, upper-class accent that it's sort of, you don't really hear that so often these days in positions of authority. To me, that was sort of more of an aberration than the rule.
Well, I think it's a rarity, like with the example you just gave. I think when you hear it, I think it's very mellifluous, and I think it stands out, and I think actually offering something different, that differential, whether it's your accent or your behaviour, how you come across, I think that can be advantageous professionally. If you're, for example, the only one who speaks like me or you or whoever it is, then actually might stand out without intending to. And be memorable, which I think is hard to be. You know, I think it does leave an impression nowadays because I think it is more rare compared to maybe 2 decades ago. And I just think it's something that I enjoy listening to personally. But I'm not against all. I love every accent. I love every accent. But I have found in London, like I said, you go to certain industries. When I was younger, I was doing a little internship at the Chambers, a barrister Chambers. And I found all of the QCs at the time that were working there had a similar accent. They were hiring old Etonians, old Herodians, and people that spoke the same, this received pronunciation. So unfortunately, if someone didn't have an RP way of speaking, they didn't have that received pronunciation, I doubt they actually would have found employment there. So I think there are, and this was only a couple of years ago, so I still find there are older industries that exists, for example, within London, maybe in the city, banks, hedge funds, private equity, or barristers' chambers, where if you don't possess certain behaviour traits, or if you don't speak a certain way, that will hamper you. Unfortunately, I think that still remains to be the case.
I agree with you, unfortunately, there. Ryan, Mike Parsons, always a joy to talk to you. Thank you very much. And sit up straight, though, honestly.
You keep going on about you not having all of the etiquette. I think you've got
I think there is a thing about being my generation and being working class, and you are taught manners. You might not talk proper, but you are taught manners. You are taught to respect your elders. You are taught to sit up straight, and you are just taught respect. I think that's the thing. You can talk as posh as you want, but if you haven't got that...
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got no time for you.
Yeah, that's wise words. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's lots more to come on today's programme. But in the meantime, if you're in search of somewhere where people speak entirely different to all of us, then perhaps you'd like to see the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The weather's looking quite mixed across southern parts of Europe as we go through tomorrow. Yes, there will be some dry, sunny and rather warm weather, but also heavy rain in places too. A band of rain pushing across parts of Portugal and into central Spain. Meanwhile, across France, feeding into Italy and also further east, there's some heavy thundery rain, and this could build up in terms of rainfall totals, enough to cause some impacts in a few places. Looking a bit drier and brighter as we head into next week, though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Well, do stay with us here on Good Afternoon Britain. There's plenty more to come.
Yes, next we'll be live in Rome to discuss that historic moment as King Charles joined Pope Leo in prayer.
All of that and so much more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
MTV has been axed. It's going to close all of its music channels around the world, except in the US as part of massive cuts. Mike, this is a big thing for Mark. So, Mike, the thing is that stars including Kelly Brook, Emma Willis, Kat Deely, Greg James and Joel Dommett all got on the station in their early careers. And for you, this is a big moment.
I was living in New York when it started, and my friends couldn't believe it. I was ringing them up and telling them about this video channel. Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. That video was made in the street on First Avenue, near my apartment in New York. And, of course, favourite pub question is always, what was the first music video on MTV? The answer is... Radio killed the radio star. Video killed the Boogles.
Yes.
Was it the Boogles?
I'm really upset that MTV is shutting, but I can't remember the last time I watched it, and I think that might be the problem.
Well, sorry, I'll show my maturity now.
Okay.
In the old days, there was just one MTV with all these great videos, you know, Paul McCartney, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
In recent years, they've streamed it into MTV 70s, MTV 80s, and MTV 70s is regularly on my TV at home in every room when I'm feeling good.
Oh, I bet it is. But also they branched out into, like, reality television shows.
Yeah.
16 and Pregnant, MTV Cribs.
And I think that's the thing that they're keeping.
Yeah.
But it is the streaming service.
Yes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 8 minutes to 2 o'clock, and King Charles has just become the first British monarch, well, the first supreme governor of the Church of England to ever pray with a pope.
Yes, His Majesty shared a prayer with Pope Leo the 14th in the Sistine Chapel earlier today in a major display of unity.
Well, of course, it was a historic step, but in another one, the King will be made Royal Confrater of the Abbey of St Paul's outside the walls in Rome. This is a huge interfaith moment. We can see live pictures here of the of Vatican City, of St Peter's Square. And it is worth thinking about the schism that was brought in this country and between what became the Church of England and Rome during Henry VIII's reign. I mean, in so many ways, that has informed the history of this country and the wider world. So really significant to see the person who is still titled the Supreme Governor of the Church of England there in the Vatican.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he is officially defender of the faith, but I mean, when he was at his coronation, he did change the wording slightly to be the defender of all faiths, to include all faiths, didn't he? So the fact that, you know, he has gone to the Vatican, it's not the first time he's gone to the Vatican and met a pope, is he? I mean, previously gone on 5 occasions and met 3 popes altogether. But it's the first time that actually knelt and prayed together. I mean, I think that is the...
A religious moment,
yes,
more than just a sort of political meeting. Because, of course, the Pope isn't just the head of the Catholic Church. The Pope is also basically the king of the Vatican. I mean, the Pope is a monarchical figure in and of himself. So I suppose before, when the king went, it was a meeting of diplomacy, whereas this is something deeper, a meeting of religions.
Yes, no, a fascinating historical meeting, and Tom was going to draw it all out for us on the whiteboard, but someone's taken it away from him.
Well, Tom's history of the English Reformation will have to come another day. But do stay with us here on Good Afternoon Britain. Much more serious news to come after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through tonight, we'll see a mix of blustery showers, also some clearer skies, but those brisk northerly winds are set to make things feel fairly chilly. And it's all thanks to low pressure, an area of low pressure sat to the northwest, also to the southeast, and that is really maintaining that brisk northerly flow through the course of the evening and as we head into tomorrow. Now, we could see a fair few showers, mainly across eastern coasts, also western coasts where we see low pressure dominating, mainly across Northern Ireland, pushing into western coasts of England and also Wales. Some of these showers could be heavy. We may even see some hail and thunder mixed in there, but most will see a dry night, some clearer skies, particularly across central areas and parts of the south, so feeling chilly here. But it is set to be a much brighter start across parts of the southeast into Friday. Once again, still plenty of showers feeding into the west. These could be heavy, and it is set to still be quite blustery, mainly across coasts, but also inland areas as well. Quite cloudy across Northern Ireland, northwest England, still a chance of some showers here. Also a fair few showers across Scotland, particularly across the far northeast, these likely merging into longer spells of rain, and this will become quite persistent through the course of Friday. Elsewhere, though, it will be a mix of brighter spells and also some showers, and it is going to remain quite breezy. Not quite as windy as we have seen this afternoon, but still those northerly winds are really going to add on to the chill, and also quite a lot of cloud around across Scotland, spells of rain, so that means temperatures are really going to struggle here. So highs of around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, but in that wind it is set to feel that much chillier. Through into the evening, we won't see much change. There are still going to be some spells of rain, some showers at times, the brisk winds still continuing as we head later into Friday and through into the weekend as well. Cloudy with further showers and some quite low temperatures, just below average for the time of year. So it is going to feel chilly once again.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Newsroom. The main story. When the King met the Pope, Pope Leo and King Charles share an intimate moment of interfaith prayer in the Sistine Chapel as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England prays alongside the head of the Catholic Church for the first time in history.
Right now, the King and Queen are at the resting place of St Paul for a special service celebrating the Pope approving a special new title for His Majesty. More detailed shortly.
Back here in Blighty, one in, one out, one back in again. We examine the farce of a deported migrant immediately returning to Britain by small boat. How else? This is the total number of illegal crossings this year surpasses the whole total for all of last year.
Far too many have been able to enter this country and disappear into the black economy.
And yet, Home Office overhaul. A leaked report reveals a failing, defeatist department riddled with immigration and management problems. Shabana Mahmood promises change.
It's Tony versus Ed. Yes, former Prime Ministers Sir Tony Blair has taken Ed Miliband to task, saying the rush to decarbonise our electricity by 2030 is destroying industry and damaging households. Blair wants to end the green levies and deliver cheaper power. But will Ed Miliband listen?
And grooming gangs. 4 abuse survivors demand Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips resigns, accusing her of betrayal. But ministers insist she still has Keir Starmer's full backing.
We have news. After 21 wonderfully joyful years on Strictly, we have decided that the time is right to step aside and pass over the baton.
Yes, in entertainment news breaking this morning, Claudia Winkleman and Tess Daly have announced they've quit Strictly Come Dancing, marking an end of an era for the popular programme. We'll be getting reactions throughout the show. So, during that title sequence, Dawn just turned to me and said, "Do you want to say something interesting?" I don't know what people... Sometimes I think I'm saying something interesting and then you yawn. And then sometimes I think I'm saying something boring and you're like, that was really interesting.
I'm a very good actress. No, I always say thank you so much for your company. This programme, as all the programmes here, are all about you, and we want to know your comments on everything we're talking about. gbnews.com/your say. However, when I'm working with Tom, I really do want your company. I really, really, really do want your company.
Oh, but Dawn...
Because sometimes, Tom Harwood, you can get a little bit... What's the word? Oh, yeah, intense.
Well, I think you'll find that the gbnews.com/your say comment section was all reproducing elements of the Northcote Trevelyan report in the first hour. So I think everyone was ganging up against you to some extent.
Well, kind of, yeah, and some of them might be slightly tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, I think perhaps.
And during that break, I had the full history of the Reformation. Yeah.
Well, as much as you can fit into 3 minutes.
Yeah, and Tom can fit an awful lot into 3 minutes. I can assure you that. In any case, please do get in touch about anything we're talking about. gbnews.com/your say. Join in the conversation about the Reformation, about anything you want. Even Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, quite literally.
It's a broad show, this one, isn't it?
It's a very broad church, but I'm not mentioning
From 1534 to 2025.
I mentioned church, I've started them off again.
Oh, no.
San Francis, read some headlines, save me, please.
Bulletins to the rescue. Here are the top stories just after 2 o'clock. King Charles has made history, becoming the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the Pope. The King and Queen met Pope Leo for the first time at the Vatican before joining him for a service in the Sistine Chapel, nearly 500 years after England's split from Rome. The palace say they hope that the focus will remain on what they say is a powerful moment of unity between the two churches. That's amid continued scrutiny over the scandal surrounding Prince Andrew. Sir Keir Starmer says he, of course, has faith in Jess Phillips, despite growing pressure for her to resign as safeguarding minister. 4 women who quit the government's grooming gangs inquiry have written to the Home Secretary, saying they'd return only if Miss Phillips stands down. They've accused ministers of betraying survivors and repeating past failures. Well, a 5th victim has now reportedly quit the panel, and both shortlisted candidates to chair the inquiry have withdrawn, deepening the crisis surrounding the investigation. A former British paratrooper known only as Soldier F has been found not guilty of 2 murders and 5 attempted murders on Bloody Sunday in Londonderry. The judge, Patrick Lynch, ruled the evidence fell well short of what was needed to convict. 13 people were killed when soldiers opened fire on Civil Rights March in 1972, one of the darkest days of the Troubles. Here, the government says a migrant who re-entered the UK after being deported to France will be sent back again and again if he keeps returning. Ministers insist the case proves the UK-France one-in, one-out deal is working, saying the man paid smugglers twice to cross the Channel and will now be deported twice. It comes as small boat arrivals this year surpass last year's entire total, with more than 36,950 migrants crossing the Channel so far. The Home Secretary says the figures are shameful and that the government must go further and faster to restore control of the borders. The Home Secretary has also admitted that the Home Office is not fit for purpose. That's after a damning internal review described it as dysfunctional and riddled with defeatism. Shabana Mahmood says the department was set up to fail under the previous government, but insists reforms are now underway. The report, written for Suella Braverman, found major failings in tackling immigration, tackling crime and small boat crossings, blaming outdated systems and a culture resistant to border control. Mahmood says she's working with the new permanent secretary to transform the Home Office from failure to function. 3 men have been arrested in London accused of helping Russia's intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44 to 48, were detained in raids across the capital. Police say it's part of a crackdown on proxies working for foreign powers. Well, it is an end of an era for Strictly Come Dancing. Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman have announced today they're stepping down as hosts at the end of this series. In a joint post on Instagram, the pair said, "We were always going to leave together, and now feels like the right time." They thanked the BBC and the Strictly team, calling it an absolute dream, adding they'll still be saying keep dancing, just at home instead, in a tracksuit bottoms with a pizza. And a London family is offering an extraordinary £180,000 salary to tutor their son, who is just 1 year old. The goal, to prepare him for entry to an elite school like Eton. The advert calls for a modern-day Mary Poppins, someone nurturing, someone cultured and able to fill his days with art, theatre, sport and museum trips. Applicants, though, must also have experience working with ultra-high net worth individuals or royal families. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, it's over to Tom and Dawn.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
But not before we take a look at the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3337 and €1.1509 euros. The price of gold is £3,085 and 38 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,575 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2.
Now, King Charles has just become the first British monarch to pray with the Pope since the Reformation.
Well, His Majesty shared a prayer with Pope Leo XIV earlier in the Sistine Chapel. Today, a major display of unity.
Indeed. In another historic step, the King is being made Royal Confrater, is that the correct saying, of the Abbey of St Paul's outside the walls in Rome.
Well, the man in the know is, of course, our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, live in Rome for us. Cameron, what can you tell us?
Hi there, Tom. Yes, so the King and the Queen, they're at St Paul's outside the walls, the Abbey, which houses the tomb of St Paul. And as you said, Dawn, the King is going to be made a Royal Confrater, or they're celebrating, rather, the new title in a service which was approved by the Pope, the Royal Confrater of the Abbey. It means spiritual fellowship. And on that theme, the King has approved that the Pope will become Papal Confrater of St George's Chapel in Windsor. Again, it's that idea of the show of unity between the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England. The King is Supreme Governor of the Church of England, and of course Pope Leo as head of the Roman Catholic Church. 500 years perhaps of a little bit of a distance between the two churches, but very much brought together today because, as you said, in the Sistine Chapel just a couple of hours ago, for the first time in, well, 500 years, a British monarch prayed publicly with a Pope inside Sistine Chapel, inside the Vatican. So it really was a special moment, particularly poignant for the King and important for the King, because we know, of course, don't we, how much he champions and promotes interfaith dialogue. It's something that he really, of course, would have wanted to do for a long time. This originally was going to be taking place in April, but because of the late Pope Francis's health, that was not possible, which is why this whole Holy See state visit has been changed to today in October. Now, the King and Queen are going to be making a private visit to the tomb of St Paul's here before making their way to the position where I'm stood. You may be able to notice some school children behind me from a local school just across the road. The King and Queen are expected to go and meet some of these school children. I'm told they speak a couple of words of English, probably better than my Italian, so I'm sure they'll have lovely conversations with the school children here, as well as members of the public who have gathered for the last couple of hours. I think perhaps mainly tourists, but I did spot one or two Union flags in the crowds too. So it should be a lovely afternoon for the King and Queen, a very short state visit, of course, because, well, it was originally, of course, last year. It was a very long time in Australia and Samoa, but in contrast, this year, it's only a day and a half, really. One overnight trip for the King and Queen, so quite different.
Absolutely. And Cameron, I seem to remember last year the King also went to the Italian Parliament, spoke some Italian there. Well, has he been speaking any Italian on this trip?
Well, it was in April, Tom, that the King spoke in the Italian Senate, I believe, and of course the official language, I think, of the Vatican is Latin, nonetheless, but we didn't hear the King speak inside the Sistine Chapel service. Who we did hear from was Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, who is accompanying King Charles on this trip, of course, as his Foreign Secretary of State. It is a state visit. Of course, the Holy See is the government of the Vatican, with Pope Leo as its head, so that's why she was here. We also heard from the Archbishop of York, who delivered a reading during the service, or an official welcome, I should say, because he's the kind of highest priest figure in the Church of England, because we haven't quite yet had the new Archbishop of Canterbury installed, although, of course, her name has been announced.
Cameron, the one thing they have in common, apart from their faith, is, of course, the love of the environment. Do we know if they've had a conversation about that yet?
Oh, they have, Dawn. As predicted, yes, they both have had a short meeting. I think it was around 45 minutes or so inside the palace, inside the Vatican. They did have a meeting about the environment, and of course the King's spokesperson told us last night, of course, that was very much a theme that they both champion, looking after the natural world, looking after God's creation, as they put it as well. Of course, both deeply religious figures. That was certainly on their mind.
OK, well, Cameron Walker, thanks indeed for being there live in the heart of the Vatican for us, following this state visit from one faith leader to another.
You know, Cameron looks like he's really enjoying himself there as well. I mean, Cameron always does an absolutely sterling job wherever he is, following the royal family around the globe, but he actually looks like he's really enjoying that particular trip.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they'll interact with all the school children as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Exciting.
Meanwhile, lots of you are getting in touch, mainly about Tom, to be fair.
Oh?
gbnews.com/your say. Helen says, love Tom, so knowledgeable and loves his subject. He's not just a presenter, he's passionate about the subject he covers. It's very refreshing to see such an enthusiastic, knowledgeable young person. And I get, nice one, Dawn, you made us laugh.
Oh, goodness me. You're making me blush now, Dawn.
Keep them coming in.
This is absolutely... well, at least Richard has one for the both of us. You're a great comedy pair. Keep it up.
Oh, that's great, thank you. And that complimentary one wasn't from your mum, but I am going to mention your mum because it is her birthday today.
It is her birthday.
So I'm going to wish Helen, Tom's lovely mum, a very happy birthday today.
Happy birthday, Mum. But before we get too self-indulgent, shall we move on swiftly? Because the Home Office says that it's still working with France on a change of tactics to push back migrant boats launched from the French beaches.
Yes, the department spokesman says, "We will do whatever it takes to secure our borders and stop migrants entering the country on small boats."
Well, it comes as a Channel migrant who was deported in the government's one-in, one-out scheme returned to the UK via a small boat.
OK, so let's talk to my favourite human rights lawyer, David Hay. David, we are joking about this. We're saying it's a farce. It's the okey-cokey, one-in, one-out, shake it all about. But it's actually not that funny, is it? What are we going to do about this situation?
Good afternoon to you both. I mean, I'm smiling, but like because it is a joke, but it's very, very serious, obviously, because we've got a problem that we need to deal with. And I think all eyes now are going to be on Shabana Mahmood and what she does. I mean, we're seeing that this gentleman's come back. We hope that I think about a month ago, wasn't it, when I think it was an Eritrean person that claimed tried to stop the deportation process to France by raising modern slavery claims. And of course, I think at the time Shabana Mahmood was referring to vexatious claims, and she wouldn't stand for it. So I think now we're going to see, what is she going to do? I think that the so-called news that the Home Office is not fit for purpose really isn't news. We've known that for a very long time. I mean, I've been working with the Home Office, for probably quite a long time, 2 decades nearly, and they've not been fit for purpose since then. So I think it's very, very interesting times now. But all eyes on Shabana Mahmood, I would say.
I suppose one of the big concerns about this is not just that one person has almost immediately stepped back onto a small boat as soon as he's been put back in France, but that what a large percentage of that is representing of those who've actually been sent back. Just 42 out of 11,000 since this scheme was announced. 42 people have been returned. It's just the most pitiful number.
Absolutely. I think we've got to remember it is a pilot scheme. I'm not sticking up for it. I think, but it is a pilot scheme. So we've got to look at some positives. It is a pilot scheme. It has, enabled us to have an agreement with a country, with France, which wasn't there before. The numbers are completely insignificant. And, I remember when it was announced, I came on and I said, what will happen when the person is deported to France? Are they going to be in some form of detention? How are they going to stop them coming back? Because clearly, if someone is going to pay money to come here in the first place, then and they get sent back, if they're free in France, they're going to try and come back. That's obvious. So what process is in place to stop that? Apparently there isn't one. And one of the other questions I think which I don't see has been answered yet is, does that person that come back in then take off our tally? Do we then have to send, if we send him back, do we then have to take another asylum seeker? So that's one question I haven't seen answered by the Home Office. So I think there's lots of questions that need answering, but it is a pilot scheme, but it isn't working in terms of overall numbers, and it won't until we get significant numbers being sent back. And I think that's the big problem that you've got here. Yeah.
David, I mean, you could argue that the Rwanda scheme was a pilot scheme as well, and yet Labour, as soon as they got into power, didn't even give that a chance to operate. I mean, we don't know, we will probably never know whether that would have worked or not. So, the fact that this one doesn't appear to be working either, what is the answer to this endless problem? We talk about it almost daily.
Dawn, I think with the Rwanda, I don't think Rwanda would have worked. I think it was a political mistake for Labour to cancel it on day one, because I think if they played it out and shown that it wouldn't work, because now, like you said, we don't know whether it would have officially. So
David, why do you say that? Sorry to interrupt, but why do you say it wouldn't work? Because obviously one of the problems with France is that France is a country with a similar sized economy to us, a similar sort of bargaining power weight. They can say, no, we don't want that migrant, we don't want that one. They can pick and choose, and so far they've only picked and chosen 42. Rwanda would have taken a vastly larger number.
I think the problem, Tom, is that under the current laws, the definition of a safe country, and despite the fact that Parliament tried to define that, I think you would have been stuck in courts up to the ECHR for a very long time. And that's why I say it wouldn't have worked. If you could have actually got through that and placed people, not volunteers that were going there, people forcibly deported to Rwanda in numbers, then yes, I think it could have worked. But I don't think that would have been possible with the current laws that we have unless they changed them. And clearly the Tories didn't have enough time to change them, and Labour have said they won't. So that's the reason why I said it wouldn't work. If those laws weren't there and you could deport everybody that came in to Rwanda, then I think it would work. But that wasn't the case then.
David, just quickly and finally, is it true that the ECHR, is it 100% necessary that we leave it in its entirety to stop the small boats crossing? Other countries seem to have sorted this problem without leaving the ECHR. Why would we have to do so?
Well, I think that, I think what's happened with the other countries, they're essentially ignoring regulations and laws. We can do the same thing. We as a country don't have to follow laws. Obviously, it's best practice that we do, because then that's the point of rule of law. So we're doing that, other countries are not. So, it is possible we could ignore, for instance, the interim orders that other countries do, that delayed flights, etc., over the Rwanda. We can ignore them. But what are the ramifications if we do that? I think it's, in my view, rather than ignore them, it would be better to either reform it, or if that's not possible, to leave as a last case resort.
That's such an interesting point that you never really hear, that actually staying in but ignoring the rulings is much more damaging to the rule of law than to saying, look, we don't like this organisation, we're going to leave it, we're going to follow all of the laws as are written, rather than doing this sort of strange halfway house thing. I mean, I haven't actually heard that articulated to the same extent that you have, that perhaps actually the pro-law rule of law position could be just saying we don't want to recognise the jurisdiction of this court.
I think, Tom, the minute that we start, as a democracy that follows the rule of law, the minute that we start enabling governments or ministers or those in power to pick and choose which laws they want and find reasons around them, we start a very dangerous slippery slope, because where does that end? And I think that's the thing. We're either following a law or we're not. That's my view. And that's a good summary, I think, of what you said. I would rather come out than pick and choose which ones we follow, because someone makes that decision, and then it is a very dangerous thing, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you very much, David. Always a joy to talk to you. That's human rights lawyer David Hay, one of the good human rights lawyers. Always talks sense. OK, now time is ticking for your chance to win. What are they going to win, Tom?
They're going to win the biggest prize of the year in our current Great British giveaway. Yes, a brand new motorhome and 30,000 grand in tax-free cash. So whatever in that budget next month, Rachel Reeves will not be able to grab this money that you could win. Here's how to do it.
So far, hold your breath.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed.
Yes, indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, it's Tony versus Ed. The former Prime Minister, Sir Tony Blair, has taken Ed Miliband to task, saying the rush to decarbonise our electricity by the end of the decade is destroying industry and damaging households. We'll get the very latest on that row.
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very, very soon.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 26 minutes past 2.
Yes, Sir Tony Blair is sticking his nose in again and has urged Ed Miliband to abandon his clean power targets and slash expensive green levies.
Yes, the former Prime Minister's think tank, with his blessing, warned that a pledge to decarbonise UK electricity by 2030 was destroying industry and damaging households.
The Tony Blair Institute advised the Energy Secretary to focus instead on making electricity much cheaper to stop right-wing populists.
Well, joining us now is the director of Net Zero Watch, Andrew Montford. Andrew, thanks indeed for joining us. I think this is a really fascinating shift that we're seeing in the sort of climate debate. You get a lot of people who are actually pro-net zero, and Tony Blair still says that he's pro-net zero, who are saying, actually, if we want to get to net zero, expensive energy is going to stop people from using electric cars or other sort of electric things that you need if you want to decarbonise.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think we are at the threshold of a very big change in policy. Things are going extremely badly for Ed Miliband. Over the last couple of weeks, not only this report from the Tony Blair Institute, but we had energy company bosses in Parliament last week saying that even if the wholesale price of electricity fell to zero, we'd still have high bills because of all the renewables that Mr. Miliband wants to put on the grid. We've had the energy industry pointing fingers at the regulator saying it's their fault, and on and on and on. It really is. I think we are sort of getting to the end of days here. And I think it's quite interesting. Ed Miliband seems to have gone to ground. He seems to be hiding. He knows that he's got no way of defending this anymore. When the industry's saying, look, prices are going up, no matter almost what you do now, then for him to stand there and argue that he's going to get bills down by £300, another story that seems to be unravelling, he hasn't got a leg to stand on, has he? So, I think we're going to start seeing some fairly major policy changes fairly soon. And Keir Starmer has hinted that maybe the Labour government will have to abandon that pledge. And I think that's very welcome for consumers, because it means that eventually the price rises will stop. They won't stop immediately, though, unfortunately. There is more pain to come.
Andrew, I mean, you don't need to be Tony Blair to realise that this is basically just common sense. We are all struggling with the cost of living crisis. Bills are going to go up, and we are going to be paying more for the green energy levies than we were told we would be. There's a surprise. They might have been, massaging the figures there a bit. But this has to happen now, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is, if you want to power your economy of wind farms, you're going to need an awful lot of wind farms, and inevitably you will have to pay them to switch off when it's very windy as well. That ends up on consumers' bills. There's a huge amount of cost and a huge amount of waste. And yes, it's inevitably expensive. And we can see now that, the lie, and I mean lie, they've been lying for 20 years about cheap renewables. They knew it wasn't true, but they just wanted to go down this route in a sort of a quasi-religious sort of. The lie's coming to an end. People have seen through it, and now they're going to have to put their hands up and say, yeah, we got it wrong.
I suppose this is one of the big conundrums for people like Ed Miliband. He staked his entire career off the basis of the Climate Change Act 2008, which he shepherded through Parliament, which has governed energy policy right through the last 14 years of Conservative government. It was a Labour bill, a Labour Act, that was actually telling the government what its carbon budgets could be. And this independent so-called committee that sort of sat on top of it. I mean, this is all Ed Miliband's doing for the last, 20 years of policy. Is he actually going to admit that maybe he went too far, that maybe he designed it in the wrong way?
Yeah, I think heaven protect us from politicians who are trying to give themselves a legacy, because it's not just Ed Miliband, it was Theresa May as well. But I think it is going to be extremely difficult for Ed Miliband to back away from this. This is what he has staked his reputation on. And there is a real problem, I think, for the Labour Party, because I think Keir Starmer would quite like to get him out of the energy brief. And he tried to do it at the last reshuffle. But Ed Miliband has a huge amount of support in the Labour Party. And I think, frankly, if Keir Starmer tried it, then the left wing of the Labour Party would stake a leadership challenge, and Keir Starmer doesn't want to go there. So I think we are probably stuck almost in an impasse, and we're not going to be able to get out of it, frankly, until the economy becomes so bad that the capital markets step in and say no more.
Andrew, finally, once again, it seems to be that politics are being put before people again.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's been the story of the last 20 years. It's politicians on a mission rather than doing the simple nitty-gritty of giving cheap, abundant electricity to the people of the UK.
OK, well, Andrew Montford, thanks indeed for joining us, Director of Net Zero Watch. Let's watch this space.
Yeah, indeed. OK, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show, but first it is time for the latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon, 2:32. The top story this hour. King Charles has made history as the first head of the Church of England to pray publicly with the Pope. He and Queen Camilla met Pope Leo in the Sistine Chapel nearly 500 years after England split from Rome. 3 men have been arrested in London accused of helping Russia's intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44 to 48, were detained in raids across the capital. Police say it's part of a crackdown on proxies working for foreign powers. 4 survivors of grooming gangs have called for Jess Phillips to resign as safeguarding minister, saying her departure would prove the government is serious about accountability. Maggie Oliver, who blew the whistle on the scandal, says she has lost confidence in her. France could be rowing back on its channel boat deal. Sources in Paris suggest the plans to intercept small boats are on hold or were never serious. The Home Office insists it still expects France to act at the earliest opportunity. Strictly Shock News, Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman are leaving the show after the series. In a joint post, they said, "We were always going to leave together." Thanking the BBC and fans, they called it an absolute dream. That's it from me for this afternoon. Tatiana Sanchez here at 3.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, thanks very much. There's lots more coming up on today's programme.
Yeah, breaking this morning, Claudia Winkleman and Tess Daly have announced they've quit Strictly Come Dancing, marking an end of an era for the show. We'll be getting the reaction to that next.
And we'll be live from Rome as King Charles made history, becoming the first Supreme Governor of the Church of England to ever pray with a Pope.
Well, and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. We will indeed see you very soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin is still likely to bring some impacts across parts of the UK, wet and windy at times, and it is going to be feeling much cooler across the UK. Here's this area of low pressure named by Meteo France as Storm Benjamin, slowly pushing its way into the North Sea. It is still going to continue to bring some very brisk northerly winds at times, mainly across coasts of East Anglia, also eastern parts of England. A chance we could still continue to see gust speeds of around 50 to 60 miles per hour. Even inland areas, it's going to be quite breezy. Eventually that rain will clear its way into the North Sea, allowing some brighter skies behind, but we are still going to continue to see some showers. Western parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, also parts of Wales and southwest England. Some of these showers could be heavy, possibly with some hail and thunder. Now, to finish off the day, there will be some clearer skies, particularly across inland Scotland, but notice across the east, plenty of clouds, still some showery outbreaks here, also some showers just pushing into western coasts. Plenty of showers across Northern Ireland, pushing their way into northwest England. Once again, these could be heavy at times, similar across Wales and southwest England. Plenty of cloud will remain across central and southeastern parts of England too, though it should be much drier compared to what we've seen earlier in the day. Now, Storm Benjamin will continue to swirl into the North Sea. We've also got another area of low pressure just to the north of Northern Ireland, still continuing to bring in some breezy weather and also some showers. But for the bulk of the country, it should be mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, continuing to feel quite breezy though. So it's going to feel chilly by the time we reach Friday morning, but likely frost-free. Now into tomorrow, a much drier, brighter day for all, but there are still going to be plenty of showers, still continuing to push their way in from the west. Some of these could still be quite heavy, and also some quite persistent outbreaks of rain across northeastern Scotland. And in that brisk northerly wind, it is going to continue to feel chilly, highs reaching around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A broken down vehicle disrupts the A1 northbound between Bankton and Wallyford. A 7.5-tonne weight restriction remains on the M48 both ways. In Tameside, a police incident has closed all M60 clockwise lanes at junction 23, causing 10-minute delays. In Luton, a load spill has closed 2 of 4 lanes on the M1 northbound between junction 10 and junction 11A, causing up to a 1-hour delay. And on the trains, disruptions continue on Avanti West Coast between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction, and on cross-country services between Southampton Central and Bournemouth. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 37 minutes past 2. Dawn, what were you just humming?
To be fair, it is very catchy. I know a lot of you are saying, why are you talking about Strictly Come Dancing? Well, lots and lots of people watch it.
It's a hugely popular programme, almost as popular as Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
Yeah. And we can't dance, though, can we?
Oh, we haven't tried.
Oh, maybe at the end of this show we'll treat you. But it is evidently shocking news for the showbiz world. Strictly host Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman have announced that they are leaving the show after this series.
Yes, in a joint Instagram post, they said, "We were always going to leave together, and now feels like the right time," thanking the BBC and fans for what they called an absolute dream. Well,
Hi, it's Claude and Tess. There have been some rumblings and we want you to hear this from us.
Yeah, we have news. After 21 wonderfully joyful years on Strictly, we have decided that the time is right to step aside and pass over the baton.
The very sparkly baton. You've been here since the beginning.
2004 with Brucey, lovely Bruce. I mean, that's over 2 decades ago, and a lot of that time has been with you. It's been a huge part of our lives, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, since our children were literally babes in arms and now they're young adults. And I think genuinely we have cherished every second.
We have.
Interesting, isn't it? OK, let's talk to news entertainment editor at GB News, Alex Davis. Alex, I mean, the big question is why? Why are they going now?
Yeah, it's a very, very million-dollar question, big question on everyone's lips, and we just don't know at the moment. All we know is that both of them have said that they both felt this was the right time. The circumstances surrounding that remain up in the air. But they've both been part of the show for 2 decades. A lot of people think that it's just Tess Daly who's hosted it from day one, but Claudia Winkleman was the face of the sister show, It Takes Two, as well, since 2004. Sorry, correct myself, 2004. So they've both been part of it for 21 years. And there's been a lot of question marks about who will replace them. Like you said, are any of the recent scandals behind their exit? Like I said, everybody who has spoken out today has done so in good spirits. There's no suggestion that there's any sort of, I don't know, dispute or anything about that behind the scenes. Everybody's statements have been filled with, like, lovely words, and they're just going to miss them so much. In the last half an hour, Shirley Ballas waited a good 4 hours to release her statement, and she said she was heartbroken to hear it. They share changing rooms are next to each other. They would often share sort of rehearsal times with each other, and she credits Tess and Claudia for taking her under her wing and things like that. I know that you mentioned in the build-up that not everybody is a fan of Strictly nowadays, and it has undergone quite a lot of changes. Back in the day, you had a lot more sort of critical comments, and it was a bit more, I don't know, sassy, but that happens to a lot of reality shows in the last few years. It still manages to attract millions of people each week. And yes, the figures aren't what they used to be, but you can't deny that it's still one of the BBC's biggest gems.
But Alex, it has had an awful lot of scandals recently with inappropriate behaviour, bullying allegations, even drug taking behind the scenes. And now they have to have chaperones when they're rehearsing. It really has taken a big hit reputation-wise, hasn't it?
I think that's been to the detriment of what we actually see on screens now. What we see on screens with the calibre of celebrity that they pick, it's very safe, it's very sort of vanilla. Like you say, with the chaperones behind the scenes, they do their best to make sure there's not a single whiff of a scandal. I mean, even this year we had quite a lot of to do with Tom Skinner, who was signed up to the show. And really the biggest thing that was associated with him is that his politics were a little bit more towards the right. So they really have tried to clamp down on sort of any whiff of a scandal. But like you said, the reputational damage has been huge. The Giovanni Panice investigation went on for months and months and months. He was accused of bullying Amanda Abington when they were on in 2023. Graziano De Prima, in that same year, he was accused of kicking his partner, and they had to have an investigation into that. They both ended up leaving the show. Last year, Wyn Evans, the opera singer, he continues to make noises about his treatment on the show and the duty of care that he alleges he hasn't received from the BBC since. All of this together sort of creates the equation of what now? What can the BBC really do to make this show the beloved Saturday night staple that it was, that still attracts 10 million people? And now they've lost two of their biggest players. It's hard to see where they go from here, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, sometimes big shows, big institutions just run their course. They have their time in the sunshine and then they sort of peter out. I wonder if I could gently ask you to make a prediction. I mean, it's still going to go ahead next year, obviously, but how many years does this show have left?
So from what we know from the BBC, like I said, they've been quite tight-lipped about the reasons and stuff, but they have mentioned in all of their statements that plans for the 2026 series will be announced in due course. So we know that there are plans probably already in motion for next year. How many years has it got left? How long's a piece of string? You don't know. Look at things like Dancing on Ice. That returned to ITV with Holly Willoughby and Stephen Mulhern, and that was gone within 2 years of them replacing Philip Schofield. So ITV planned for a long haul with a new presenting lineup, and that went out the window. So could Strictly survive without Tess and Claudia? Will it be able to bounce back from the scandals? It would depend all on the viewers and the millions of people that if they decide to keep tuning in or streaming on the iPlayer.
OK, Alex, thank you very much. That's GB News entertainment editor Alex Davis. Thank you very much on Strictly Come Dancing and how long it's got to last.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
People's viewing habits are changing, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the BBC is doing a lot better with shows like The Traitors, which people don't necessarily all
Even
sit
you've
down and watch
watched
at the
that,
same time.
haven't you?
It's basically the only entertainment show that I watch.
Yeah.
But I don't watch it when it comes out.
No.
I think a lot of people now want to... It's less likely that they'll have this sort of sit-down moment with all the family to watch at a certain time of day. People want to watch when is convenient to them, rather than following the same schedules that we've all followed for the last few decades.
I'll tell you some shows that are doing rather well, though.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. The wonderful thing about Good Afternoon Britain on GB News is you can dip in and out, but you can also take it with you. You don't have to watch it on the television. You can listen on the radio.
Yeah, yeah.
And with new figures out today show that more than 100% increase for this particular show. GB News up as a whole channel marvellously as well. These are the radar figures. Just an astonishing growth for a show that is also on the radio. I mean, perhaps we don't talk enough about how this show is on the radio, but a lot of people do listen.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for watching, obviously, and for listening on the radio, and even the show that I do at weekend lunchtimes. Thank you so much. That's doing really well, and I really, really do love having your company on those shows as well. So do keep listening. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, but there's still lots more still to come on today's show, both on the television and on the radio, so do stick with us. But in the meantime, let's get an update on this European travel weather.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The weather's looking quite mixed across southern parts of Europe as we go through tomorrow. Yes, there will be some dry, sunny and rather warm weather, but also heavy rain in places too. A band of rain pushing across parts of Portugal and into central Spain. Meanwhile, across France, feeding into Italy and also further east, there's some heavy, thundery rain, and this could build up in terms of rainfall totals, enough to cause some impacts in a few places. Looking a bit drier and brighter as we head into next week, though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, lots more still to come here on Good Afternoon Britain.
Yeah, we'll be live from Rome as King Charles has made history, becoming the first British monarch to pray with the Pope since the Reformation. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 2:50, and the King has made history, becoming the first Supreme Governor of the Church of England to ever pray with a Pope.
His Majesty met Pope Leo XIV ahead of a special service at the Sistine Chapel.
Well, in another historic step, the King was presented with a special seat at one of Rome's major papal basilicas.
Historian and royal commentator Alexander Lamont joins us now. Alexander, good to see you. How historic is this moment? We've been talking about it all morning, but just sum it up for us, what this actually really means.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm actually in Italy at the moment, completely coincidentally, and it's impossible to overstate what a big deal this is in this country, because people are seeing Charles, or who was obviously the defender of the faith, the governor of the Church of England, and I think it's also fair to say that the relationship between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church has not always been the closest. But what Charles is doing, I think very successfully, is he is saying, essentially, the two faiths can coexist. And of course, what's interesting is that I don't think any other monarch in the last few centuries has actually seen it as their responsibility to do this, because ultimately people don't take faith that seriously. The one thing that you can say about Charles, whether you like him as king or not, he is somebody who understands history and he understands the significance of what he's doing, because obviously for a monarch of England, a monarch of the United Kingdom, I should say, to be praying with the Pope, 500 years ago, they would have said that was an absolute impossibility. But now that really does show that bridges have been mended. And it's something that I think will be a significant moment forever. Of course, the trouble is that there have been so many other royal stories of the past week. But something like this, which should have been the biggest story of the past month, possibly even the past year, is possibly not going to have the attention it deserves.
Yes, certainly. Alexander, thanks indeed for giving us that update. Let's jump to somewhere else in Italy now to join Cameron Walker in Rome, where we can see the King and Queen being greeted by crowds by St Paul's outside the Wells Basilica. Let's see if we can see that now. There are some of the individual guards. We're looking at the Basilica, St Paul's. Let's speak to our royal correspondent who's on the ground. Cameron, what can you tell us?
Hi Tom. Yes, well, as you can see, King and Queen not quite outside St Paul's, outside the walls yet, where the tomb of St Paul is. I'm told they're meeting some chair makers, and you may be wondering why they're meeting some chair makers, and that's because a special chair has been created for King Charles inside this abbey, because he has been named today as the Royal Confrater of the abbey, basically meaning spiritual fellowship. It's a new title that the Pope has approved, and this chair he is not only sat on, but I'm told it's going to remain there pretty much, we hope, for eternity, so his heirs and successors can use it when they come to visit, perhaps permanently shoring up the relations between the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England. So perhaps we will see a future King William and a future King George sit on that chair, and it's got a kind of a red cushion on it, and it's got the royal standard as well, kind of painted. So the King and Queen currently meeting those chair makers. As soon as they have done that, we do expect their Majesties to make their way out to our position to greet some local school children who have gathered, as well as members of the public. And I was speaking to some of the members of the public earlier, actually. A couple of the British Catholics are here, and similar to your last guest, they were really emphasising just quite how significant the moment was this afternoon, that both King Charles and the Pope prayed together publicly inside the Sistine Chapel, and they felt very proud to be here, to be part of that history. So it was an incredibly special moment.
They have had a very warm reception in Italy, haven't they? They had a warm reception when they went out there previously, very briefly, to have a private meeting with the last Pope. We've
Well,
lost. Oh.
well, I'm sure Cameron Walker will be with you for the next programme. Of course, it's Alex Armstrong taking you,
Yes,
so let's just
yes.
say, keep dancing
Keep
or
watching GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through tonight, we'll see a mix of blustery showers, also some clearer skies, but those brisk northerly winds are set to make things feel fairly chilly. And it's all thanks to low pressure, an area of low pressure sat to the northwest, also to the southeast, and that is really maintaining that brisk northerly flow through the course of the evening and as we head into tomorrow. Now, we could see a fair few showers, mainly across eastern coasts, also western coasts where we see low pressure dominating, mainly across Northern Ireland, pushing into western coasts of England and also Wales. Some of these showers could be heavy. We may even see some hail and thunder mixed in there, but most will see a dry night, some clearer skies, particularly across central areas and parts of the south, so feeling chilly here. But it is set to be a much brighter start across parts of the southeast into Friday. Once again, still plenty of showers feeding into the west. These could be heavy, and it is set to still be quite blustery, mainly across coasts, but also inland areas as well. Quite cloudy across Northern Ireland, northwest England, still a chance of some showers here. Also a fair few showers across Scotland, particularly across the far northeast, these likely merging into longer spells of rain, and this will become quite persistent through the course of Friday. Elsewhere, though, it will be a mix of brighter spells and also some showers, and it is going to remain quite breezy. Not quite as windy as we have seen this afternoon, but still those northerly winds are really going to add on to the chill, and also quite a lot of cloud around across Scotland, spells of rain, so that means temperatures are really going to struggle here. So highs of around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, but in that wind it is set to feel that much chillier. Through into the evening, we won't see much change. There are still going to be some spells of rain, some showers at times, the brisk winds still continuing as we head later into Friday and through into the weekend as well. Cloudy with further showers and some quite low temperatures, just below average for the time of year. So it is going to feel chilly once again.
Expect